Chapter 61. 10 billion. Thump. Lin Senshin's huge, corpulent body crashed to the ground with a resounding thud. Han Shun stood with his hands behind his back, frowning as he glanced in the direction Lin Senhai had fled. Yao Qingqian, having taken the Tai Sect's elixir, had recovered significantly. Senior Han, Lin Senhai ran away. Yao Qingqian's gaze was fixed on Lin Senshan, and she asked, puzzled, is he an imbecile? He must have some mental deficiencies. No wonder he could cultivate to the half-step Grandmaster realm. People with mental deficiencies, if they have the aptitude for cultivation and are carefully nurtured, can achieve twice the results with half the effort due to their lack of distractions. A hint of envy appeared in Yao Qingqian's eyes. Before truly encountering a Grandmaster, she had felt like she was walking in a fog, completely unable to grasp the direction. Her understanding of the Grandmaster realm was vague, like a dream. Last night, Lei Kuan's Grandmaster aura had pressed down on her, leaving her breathless, like a mountain bearing down on her. That was her concrete contact with a Grandmaster. Today's battle made Yao Qingqian realize that power was everything, and only a hard fist could prevent you from being bullied at will. Yao Qingqian clenched her fist, making up her mind. No matter where Han Shun went, she would follow him. It would be great if she could get a single word of guidance from him. Senior Han, Lin Senhai has escaped. Yao Qingqian looked at Han Shan to her left with admiration. Her peripheral vision caught sight of Lin Senhai's former location, now empty, and she said urgently, "It's all right, he won't get far." Han Shan waved his hand and, with his hands behind his back, started walking downstairs. Yao Qingqian's beautiful face was filled with determination. She followed closely behind, her small leather shoes clacking rapidly. Han Shan walked too fast. Each step seemed to cover the distance of 10 ordinary steps. Yao Qingqian had to use all her strength to keep up, her fair cheeks beaded with sweat. The Taihu Lakeside Manor was vast. The Lin family, as the most powerful family in Yunshan City, had bought this entire scenic mountain covering dozens of acres. The manor had a stream in front and a mountain peak in the back. Lin Senhai had built a small airfield on the left. Right now, he was being escorted by 2 martial artists, trying to escape in a helicopter that was parked at the airfield. Nothing was more important than life. When Lin Senhai saw his brother killed by Han Shun with a single punch, he was terrified and secretly fled from the study's secret room, calling the 2 martial artists who lived in the manor. These 2 martial artists lived in the manor with their families. They were so close that the auras of Han Shan and Lin Senshin's battle had already intimidated them. If Lin Senhai hadn't threatened them with the lives of their families, they wouldn't have dared to act rashly in front of a Grandmaster. Lin Senhai was still 10 meters away from the helicopter. He ran in a staggered manner, looking back to check that Han Shun wasn't around. Relieved, he thought that once he was on the helicopter, even a Grandmaster wouldn't be able to touch him. Thinking this, Lin Senhai rushed towards the helicopter, panting. He boarded the co-pilot seat with the help of the 2 martial artists. Take off. The intense exercise left Lin Senhai, who rarely exercised, completely out of breath. He could only bend over, grab the helicopter's door handle, and close the door. Lin Senhai kept looking towards the manor. Still not seeing Han Shun, he couldn't help feeling puzzled. Why hasn't it taken off yet? After waiting for several minutes, Lin Senhai, seeing that the helicopter still hadn't taken off, was furious. He turned around, opening his mouth to curse. When he saw that the person in the pilot's seat was Han Shin, his body trembled, his face instantly turning pale. In a panic, he tried to get out of the helicopter. "Don't bother, the door is welded shut," Yao Qingqian said coldly from behind. "And Mr. Han," Lin Senhai stammered. "Mr. Han, it was my fault. I had eyes but couldn't see, and sent people to attack you." A wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. If Lin Senhai wanted to live, he could only beg for mercy. "I came this time to ask for compensation." Han Shin had originally planned to kill Lin Senhai for today's insult, but Yao Qingqian had advised him that the Lin family's power was overwhelming. With close ties to the military in Yunshan City and marital alliances with many of the city's other families, their connections were extensive. Killing Lin Senhai would surely provoke the Lin family's crazy revenge. Han Shin said he didn't care, but Yao Qingqian smiled wryly. He might not, but what about Lan Yueshi and Yao Yao? Han Shin put his hands behind his neck, closing his eyes as if taking a nap. "I'll give you a chance. Think carefully about how you're going to make amends. Mr. Han, as long as you spare my life, I am willing to give you 10 billion. Lin Senhai took a deep breath, suppressing the hatred in his heart. 10 billion? Hanshin nodded, taking out a bank card he had already prepared from his pocket. Deal. I'll give you an hour to transfer the money to this card. Lin Senhai took the bank card with trembling hands. He felt a huge sense of relief. As long as Han Chun spared his life, he would always have a chance for revenge. Lin Senhai couldn't gather 10 billion in cash within an hour. Most of the Lin family's assets were real estate and houses, mines, with only a few tens of millions in liquid assets. He could only sell real estate, the shares of the Lin family's companies, and the stocks he had on hand. The news that the Lin family was selling stocks and shares spread like wildfire among the top families in Yunshan City. Many took the opportunity to drive down the prices. Lin Senhai's phone was flooded with messages. Each notification made him feel more and more disheartened. His face turned completely dark. With this ominous presence by his side, Lin Senhai had no choice but to sell his stock at a low price. There's still half an hour left. Hanshin picked at his ear, coldly reminding him. Yes. Don't worry, Mr. Han. Lin Senhai was sweating profusely, secretly regretting that Lin Yaofeng should die, but even more resentment for Han Chen arose in his heart. The Lin family had a mine that generated several hundred million in profits each year. If he wanted to gather 10 billion in half an hour, he had no choice but to sell the mine. Half an hour later, Lin Senhai respectfully handed over the bank card. Mr. Han, 10 billion has been transferred. Hanshin nodded, very satisfied with his performance. Get lost. Yes, Mr. Han. I'm leaving now. Lin Senhai tried to pry the cockpit door handle with all his might, but he had used too much force and the whole door fell to the ground with a thud. Li Qizhen came out from the medicine cellar, and Shangguan Meijin was waiting at the door. Mother, has there been any news from the Yao family? Those who returned said that the Yao family is calm and nothing has happened. Li Qizhen was shocked, puzzled. The Grandmaster aura from last night could not have been mistaken, so why was the Yao family fine? Could it be that Yao Taizhan had advanced to Grandmaster? Or had someone else intervened to help the Yao family? The only ones who could defeat a Grandmaster were other Grandmasters. Go and get the best Tian ginseng. I heard that Yao Taizhan is seriously ill. As an old friend, I should go and check on him. Chapter 62. Honey, this is my dowry. After taking Han Chun back to the Lan family villa, Yao Qingqian hurried back to the Yao residence and told Yao Taizhan about the day's events. No wonder Mr. Han wanted information about the Lin family last time. Yao Tieshan's face was grave. He waved his hand. Qingqian, you're injured. Go back to your room and rest well. Yao Qingqian opened her vibrant red lips, wanting to say something, but ultimately she couldn't bring herself to speak. She was returning to the Tai sect in just half a month, and she didn't know when she would be able to come out again. During this time, she definitely had to pester Han Chun to give her some guidance. After his granddaughter left, Yao Taizhan glared at Yao Dasheng. Has Yao Yao opened the computer yet? No, Yao Dasheng said, touching his nose, feeling guilty. Today is the deadline. I don't care what you do. You have to make sure Yao Yao sees the link. Yes, father, Yao Dasheng responded, his old face flushing. The link had been faked, and the video inside had been carefully chosen by him over the course of a whole night. Thankfully, his precious daughter didn't know it was him who had made it, or else he wouldn't know where to put his old face. Patriarch, the Shangguan family patriarch has come for a visit, saying they want to see the old master. A message from the security guard came through WeChat. After playing the voice message aloud, Yao Dasheng looked at Yao Taizhan. Father, the Shangguan family has never gotten along with the other three great families. Why are they here to see you today? Humph. Yao Taizhan snorted. His aged eyes narrowed, revealing a sharp glint. Go and bring old Madame Shangguan to the attic. With that, Yao Taizhan went towards the flying cornered wood tower, reverting to his death-like appearance, lying on the bed. When Yao Dasheng led Li Qizhen in, they saw Yao Taizhan looking weak and pale. Li Qizhen was incredibly astute, and she released her mind to probe Yao Tieshan's condition. After realizing the other man was truly weak, she quickly withdrew. They were both at the 9th rank of peak martial artists. Li Qizhen's inner energy was much more robust than Yao Tieshan's because she had been taking herbs, using herbal baths, and trading for elixirs with some cultivation sects for high-aged medicinal herbs. Old friend, I've come to see you. Li Qizhen brought Shangguan Ingxue with her. Cough, cough. The Shangguan family patriarch has arrived. Yao Taizhan coughed. His whole body curled into a shrimp shape, his back shaking incessantly, making the bed tremble. Brother Yao, how did you get so seriously injured? The fact that Lei Kuan had come to seek revenge on Yao Taizan wasn't a secret. It had already spread throughout the martial arts world. Many people were curious how Yao Taizan and Chen Jifeng had managed to escape from the hands of a grandmaster. Grandmasters were not to be trifled with. This saying was widespread in the martial arts world. Once a person entered the grandmaster realm, their inner energy transformed into inner power, and both their physical body and mind would strengthen significantly, just like the difference in power between a 5-year-old child and a 15 or 16-year-old teenager. This was why so many martial artists spent their entire lives striving for the Grandmaster realm. Moreover, beyond the Grandmaster realm, there were martial kings and martial emperors. Above that was the Xiantian realm. It was said that those in the Xiantian realm could ascend to the immortal realm and become immortals. Thus, on Earth, those in the Xiantian realm were also known as earthly immortals. Although Lei Kuan has just entered the Grandmaster realm, and his cultivation is unstable, he's still a cut above me. Yao Taizan coughed violently. He knew it wouldn't be long before people found out Han Chun had helped the Yao family, so he needed to confuse the judgments of the martial artists in the country. He didn't want Han Chun to receive too much attention. After all, the forces behind that incident were too strong. To be honest, I asked a senior who had just entered the Grandmaster realm to help me. Jifeng and I worked together with the senior at full force to kill Lei Kuan. Li Qizhen sighed. If I'd known that brother Jifeng was here with you, old friend, I would have brought more medicinal herbs. After the previous head of the Shangwan family and his lover ran away with all of the money, many people kept their distance from Li Qizhen, but Chun Jifeng had reached out to help. Although Li Qizhen hated men after her husband's betrayal, she was still very grateful to Chen Jifeng. Since brother Chun is here with you, old friend, that's good. In a couple of days, it will be time to open the medicinal storehouse at Shangwan Mountain Manor. We'll be hosting a banquet for the martial artists of Hailan City and others who are close to the Shangwan family. Old friend, you and brother Chen must come and honor us with your presence. Cough cough, since it's Patriarch Shangwan inviting us, brother Jifeng and I will definitely go. Yao Taizan responded. The Shangwan Mountain Manor only opened its medicinal storehouse once a year. On this day, many martial artists would gather at the manor to purchase high-quality medicinal herbs. Old friend, I won't beat around the bush. I'd like to meet the senior who helped the Yao family defeat Lei Kuan. The Shangwan family was managed by a woman. Many family forces had their eyes on their medicinal herb cultivation techniques, and they were envious of the wealthy Shangwan family. While they had the support of the Han family was far away in the capital. A distant source of water couldn't quench the thirst of the moment. Being able to get to know another grandmaster could only be beneficial. I'll need to ask the senior what he thinks. Yao Taizan didn't dare make a decision for Han Chun, and he responded with a bitter smile. Old friend, just introduce me. Li Qizhen was confident. In Hailan City, who didn't know the Shangwan family? Even in the whole of Daxia, many cities had branches of the Shangwan traditional Chinese medicine store. What martial artist didn't know the benefits of medicinal herbs? Li Qizhen was 100% certain that she could get this grandmaster to attend the banquet at Shangwan Mountain Manor. At that time, I'll give the senior a medicinal herb to show the Shangwan family's sincerity. The secretary was organizing documents on Lan Yueshi's desk when she noticed something was strange. The past couple of days, CEO Lan wasn't working overtime anymore, and she'd leave right on time. Lan Yueshi opened WeChat and saw a picture of food Han Chun had sent with the caption, "Honey, this is a beauty meal for today." A smile broke across her cool face, and a sparkle of happiness danced in her eyes, making her secretary rub her eyes in disbelief. After triple-checking that she wasn't mistaken, the secretary was sure. CEO Lan's eyes were filled with happiness. CEO Lan, have you fallen in love recently? Lan Yueshi stood up and straightened her clothes. Why do you ask that? Hee, the way you look, it's like a woman who is head over heels in love. The secretary stuck out her tongue and, seeing Lan Yueshi's confused expression, added, CEO Lan, I'll go organize the documents that the Shangwan traditional Chinese medicine store sent over first. Watching the secretary's retreating back, Lan Yueshi's mind kept replaying what she had said. Could it be that I've really fallen for that guy? That's impossible, right? Lan Yueshi drove home, feeling hungry along the way. She was craving the food that Han Chun had been making. When she arrived home, Lan Yueshi carelessly kicked off her high heels and went into the kitchen, greeted by the fragrant smell of food, and her stomach began to rumble. So hungry. Lan Yueshi leaned against the door, her tone lazy, as if a kitten was acting spoiled and urging him on. Can't we eat yet? Almost there, honey. Don't be impatient. Hanshin came out with the dishes. Lan Yueshi followed him eagerly, sitting at her place, unusually well-behaved, and waiting to eat. Honey, I made some money today. Lan Yueshi buried her head in her food and muttered in response. Her cheeks puffed out, looking extremely adorable. Imagem, amazing. 10 billion. Hanshin proudly raised his head and confidently pushed his bank card in front of Lan Yueshi. This is my dowry. Lan Yueshi's beautiful eyes widened in shock. Before she could speak, Gu Chuantong's shocked voice came from the doorway. How much? 10 billion. Gu Chunong ran to the two of them, waving a heavy item, and grabbed Han Shen's bank card. You couldn't possibly earn 10 billion in one day, even if you sold yourself. You're definitely lying. Yeah, this guy's trying to trick you. Don't believe him. Chapter 63, Martial King. Han Shen pinched Gu Chuantong's soft, pink cheeks, making her yelp. This is for my wife. You stupid Gu. Give it back. You pervert. What are you doing? It hurts. It hurts. Let go of me. Gu Chuntong just wouldn't let go, stuffing the bank card into her camisole, a triumphant expression on her face, puffing out her chest. I won't let you trick Yaya. If you dare, come and take it. Han Shen stared at the 2D cups, swallowing a mouthful of saliva, but because Lan Yueshi was there, he didn't reach out to snatch it. 10 billion was no small sum. After so many years of development, the total market value of the Lan Corporation was only 20 billion. Lan Yueshi didn't believe that Han Shan could earn that much in a day. If it were true, would he still need to stay with the Lan family? No, he wouldn't. Lan Yueshi was more inclined to believe that there were only a few thousand yuan in the card. That way Han Shan would remain by her side. How strange. Why would I have this feeling of not wanting to be separated from this guy? It must be because I've been confused by the recent collaborations with the Shangwan family. Good grief. Are a woman's great assets that good at hiding things? Why are you here today? Han Shan crossed his arms, glancing at Gu Chuntong. Why can't I be here? It's none of your business. Gu Chuntong lowered her head and saw that all the food on the table had been eaten, her beautiful eyes widening. Yeah, you didn't leave any for me. Lan Yueshi wiped her mouth elegantly, her cheeks slightly flushed. It's so late. Chun-chun, have you eaten yet? I don't have time to eat. Gu Chuntong huffed, hugging her slender waist with her two white, delicate arms, making her chest protrude. She leaned on the table in a huff. My dad is back. He's being really strict with me. I won't be staying here tonight. I just came to give you an invitation. As she spoke, Gu Chunong pouted and ordered Han Shen. You pervert. I'm hungry. I don't care. You need to make some noodles for me? Are you sure you want to eat my noodles? Han Shen picked at his ear. Gu Chuntong stomped her foot in anger. Don't try to take advantage of me. Are you going to make them or not? Yes. Han Shen got up and went into the kitchen to make some noodles for Gu Chunong. Seeing that he had been dispatched, Gu Chuntong secretly took out an invitation. At the lower right corner was the Gu family crest. Yeah, day after tomorrow is my mother's birthday, and she wants you to come. As she said this, Gu Chuntong looked at Han Shen, who was busy making noodles in the kitchen, and huffed, sniffing. My mom has always seen you as her daughter-in-law. Don't let the pervert know. Besides, you two only have a verbal engagement. You haven't even gotten your marriage license yet. Lan Yueshi was dissatisfied with Gu Chuantong's actions, and she didn't take the invitation. Gu Chuantong's lively eyes turned as she added, You know my mother's health. It's rare for her to go out. She just wants to see you. Okay. Lan Yueshi sighed. Chuanchuan's mother's health wasn't good. When they were younger, she'd often take her in and have her live with Gu Chuntong, taking care of the two girls' diet and daily lives. The early mornings and late nights had made her already weak body even more feeble. She could never repay this kindness. But I must bring Han Shen with me. Lan Yueshi understood. She had always seen Gu Mingyao as a brother and a friend. Besides, Uncle Gu had never liked her, and Lan Yueshi could sense it. Bringing Han Shen would help her avoid unnecessary trouble. Okay. Gu Chuantong's pure and cute face showed a hint of helplessness. Her eyes glared viciously at Han Shen, who was coming out with the noodles. Han Shen grinned. He'd heard everything that Gu Chuntong had said to his wife. What are you looking at? Eat your noodles. Han Shen placed the bowl of noodles on the table with a thud. Gu stupid tong, eat. Gu Chuntong turned her head away with a huff, her red nose twitching as she smelled the fragrant aroma of the noodles. She decided she would finish this bowl of noodles before arguing with the pervert. Green scallions and a few small greens floated on the surface of the broth, and a fried egg lay on top of the noodles. Gu Chuntong swallowed, picked up the bowl, and slurped the noodles, enjoying them so much that she drank all the broth. Burp. Having eaten her fill, Gu Chuntong covered her small mouth, blinking her eyes. How did I burp? Ah, that wasn't ladylike at all. Oh_. Ding dong. Gu Chuntong opened her phone to check her messages, her face immediately falling. Patting her belly, Gu Chuntong stood up and waved her hand. Yeah, I'm going home first, my dad is urging me. Lan Yueshi saw Gu Chuntong out of the villa. When she returned, she saw Han Chun coming out of the bathroom, reaching for his phone. Gulp. Lan Yueshi swallowed. Han Chun was only wearing a pair of shorts, his muscles taut and sculpted, and his 8-pack abs were clearly defined. With his shirt off, a wave of masculinity enveloped Lan Yueshi. I'll go upstairs to shower. Lan Yueshi covered her eyes, but as she passed Han Chun, a space between her index and middle fingers revealed a pair of clear eyes, staring directly at Han Chun's physique. If you want to see, honey, I'll let you look to your heart's content back in my room. You don't have to be sneaky. Han Chun grinned. Lan Yueshi's face was completely red, her ear tips rosy, like a pair of delicate cherries. Pa, it's clearly you who didn't put on clothes after getting out of the shower just to get something. Lan Yueshi grabbed her breakfast and hurried out, and Han Chun planned to sleep in. At that moment, White Fox sent a voice message. Chin Wolf, come over quickly, honey. I found some information. I'm waiting for you. So fast? Han Chun was puzzled, and with complex feelings in his heart, he went to room 302. Cloud Sea Villa, 302. He pushed open the door to see White Fox absorbed in a novel titled, One Baby, Three Treasures. Han Chun went forward and threw the novel aside. Oh, don't do that. White Fox's soul-stirring mature female voice was a bit husky, with a plaintive look in her eyes, a flirtatious, seductive gleam in her brow. What did you find? Han Chun was eager to know the information about the person in the painting. White Fox licked the back of her hand. Chun, darling, don't be so anxious. Here. White Fox raised her hand, and a scroll of parchment with a white glow appeared in midair. Han Chun opened the scroll and read the information carefully. After a while, he asked, is the information accurate? Not really. White Fox rolled over, flicking her tail. My little apprentice disciples aren't highly skilled. In one day, they could only find information from 10 years ago. TSK. I didn't expect that there were so many strong people in the human world. According to this person's cultivation progress, he should be at Martial King rank 9 now. Han Chun pondered in silence. White Fox continued. The rest is still being investigated. But from my experience, there is also a hidden hand behind this person, and their level of strength is definitely not lower than his. Giggle, Chin, darling, do you want me to help you? No, just keep Yaya safe. Han Chun tossed the scroll to White Fox. White Fox snapped her fingers, and the scroll burst into flames and turned to ash. Han Chun got up to leave. White Fox waved, her voice alluring. Remember to come back tonight, honey? I put in a lot of effort this time. Leaving room 302, Han Chun looked up at the sky, and a rare sense of melancholy filled him. This matter needed careful planning. He would first raise his cultivation level to the point of being halfway to ascension. Han Chun had a premonition that the truth of the events from that year was not simple. He was so young then, and he lost his parents. Han Chun didn't want to lose Lan Yueshi. Only with a strong fist could he make those hidden vermin in the shadows be wary, afraid, and terrified. Chapter 64. Yao Air, raise your leg. Beep beep. Another message popped up on Han Chun's phone. It was from Yao Yao. Big brother Chin, did you forget my ballet competition today? Han Chun tapped on the screen. Did you forget to tell me that today was a ballet competition? I just forgot. Humph. I'll come pick you up then. Soon, Yao Yao arrived in her car at the entrance of Yunhai Villa 301, waiting for Han Chun. To show Han Chun her most beautiful self, Yao Yao came wearing her ballet dress. The light purple leotard and pure white tulle skirt made her long, slender legs look even more striking. When Han Chun opened the door and came in, Yao Yao immediately stretched her jade-like legs across his lap, striking a seductive pose. You rascal, why are you so late? Yao Yao pouted, acting arrogant. Couldn't wait? Han Chun stroked her long legs, tapping Yao Yao's calf. Yao Air, raise your leg. Yao Yao's cheeks flushed instantly, burning hot. Big brother Chun. So exciting, right? Last night, Yao Yao had opened her computer wanting to look at the list of participants in the ballet competition, but her computer had been infected with a virus. Incessantly, some inappropriate images kept popping up, and driven by curiosity, Yao Yao had clicked through, making her face flushed and her heart race. The images showed two naked people intertwined, and a woman's moans could be heard from the room. She was an adult, but she had never been in a relationship. She was still a virgin. Was her first time going to be in the car? And right in front of Lan Yueshi's house? Yao Yao only hesitated for 3 seconds before immediately spreading her legs, closing her eyes, and opening her moist lips slightly. Big brother Chun, be gentle, okay? Han Chun rolled his eyes at her and smacked Yao Yao's butt hard before reaching down between her legs. Yao Yao couldn't help but tremble, her face flushing red, and she began to moan softly. Hiss. A snake-like sound came from under the seat. Han Chun grabbed a finger-sized snake and pulled it out. When Yao Yao saw it, her face instantly went pale. Terrified, she opened the car door and got out. Where did the snake come from? As soon as I got in, I heard a strange noise coming from under your butt. Turns out, it was a venomous snake. In Han Chun's hand, the snake was as obedient as a pet. The weather is getting hotter. It must have come in because it's cooler in your car. Han Chun grinned. Seeing Yao Yao's frightened face, he was tempted to tease her. He stretched the snake toward Yao Yao's direction. Yao Yao jumped back in fright, almost crying. Her beautiful eyes were red and watery, full of pitifulness. She looked at Han Chun with resentful eyes. What are you doing? You trying to scare me to death? Yao Yao pouted, really angry. Han Chun casually strangled the snake and threw its corpse into the sewer through the drain. What if this scary little snake frightened his wife? Han Chun clapped his hands, grinning, and beckoned to Yao Yao, laughing. Come over here now. Yao Yao sniffed resentfully, reluctantly climbing back into the car. Seeing that Han Chun was enjoying her reaction, she was annoyed, so she jumped on him, wrapping her arms around his neck and immediately plunged her tongue into his mouth. Han Chun swiftly wrapped his tongue around her moist, tender one. A sweet aroma filled his mouth. One hand grabbed her waist while the other roamed across her legs, clad in white stockings. Yao Yao took what she wanted, responding with fervor. Suddenly, she opened her teeth and bit Han Chun's tongue. Han Chun winced in pain and smacked Yao Yao's rounded bottom hard, causing her eyes to become even more watery. She couldn't help but whimper with hurt. Beep beep. A car honked from nearby. Yao Yao quickly pushed Han Chun away, wiggled her legs, and looked down shyly. My competition is starting soon. Do you want to rent a room tonight? Han Chun leaned back in the leather seat. We'll see. He wouldn't let the meat delivered to his mouth go to waste, but he had already promised White Fox for tonight. Plus, tonight was the middle of the month, and White Fox would not be able to withstand the power of the full moon. Han Chun couldn't abandon White Fox for a night of passion. Yao Yao pouted, immediately dissatisfied. What the heck? It's practically handed to you. Drive faster. Or do you want to miss your competition? Han Chun said coldly. Yao Yao started the engine and sped away towards the ballet competition venue. There was still an hour and a half until the ballet competition. Backstage, there were many women wearing various ballet dresses, all with long legs. They were all crowded around a man. Wow, Peter, you're so amazing. Not only are you an international student with a doctorate, but you're also a musician with a great family background. Oh, if only Peter was my boyfriend. What are you talking about? Peter will definitely find someone of equal status. Like me, my family runs a restaurant. Big brother Peter, why are the older sisters arguing? Unlike me, I only want to feel bad for you. Big brother Peter, you must be very lonely living alone overseas. Surrounded by women, the sense of frustration Peter had felt when Han Chun had humiliated him was suddenly gone, replaced by a false sense of satisfaction and arrogance. Don't be impatient. If you want to see my concert, you can get a ticket in exchange for a kiss. Peter turned his face to the ballet dancers, pointing to his cheek. The women were greatly encouraged and rushed to get a ticket to Peter's concert. Some had even slipped their hands into each other's clothes. A beautiful woman with an affected manner was making eyes at Peter, her hand almost reaching into Peter's pants. Oh my God. Peter was in ecstasy. The women overseas weren't as enthusiastic as the women in China. These women looked pure, like white swans, but once given a little encouragement, they would abandon their dignity and grace to become this irresistible. According to the rules, men weren't allowed backstage with the ballet dancers. So, when they reached the backstage door, Yao Yao pushed Han Chun, Big brother Chun. Wait for me outside. What number are you? What number? I'm the finale. Yao Yao tilted her chin arrogantly, a smug expression on her face. Okay. Yao Yao said goodbye to Han Chen and went backstage, where she saw all the ballet dancers crowded around a man. She rolled her eyes. Her big brother Chun was still the best. Yao Yao had exquisite features and luminous white skin. She had an air of rebellion and arrogance, looking down on everyone. As soon as she walked in, Peter noticed her. Peter pushed aside the women, adjusted his clothes, and walked up to Yao Yao with a gentlemanly smile, slightly bending at the waist, extending his hand to shake hers. Ah, beautiful lady, you are so beautiful. Please allow me to introduce myself. I am Peter. I have just returned from studying abroad with a doctorate degree. I'm about to have my concert, and I would like to invite you to come. Yao Yao didn't even look at Peter, simply walked right past him. This fiery personality awakened Peter's desire to conquer, and he stuck to Yao Yao like a dog's skin plaster. Oh my God, beautiful. You have a great figure. To be honest, I'm here to select dancers for my concert. I wonder if you would be interested in being my backup dancer. Peter said gentlemanly. Yao Yao sat at her makeup station, her face cold with disdain, her aura overbearing. Get lost. The other ballet dancers were green with envy when they heard that Peter was inviting Yao Yao to be a backup dancer at his concert. Who is she? The backup dancer for Master Peter can only be me. No one can steal him from me. She seems to be the second daughter of the Yao family, Yao Yao. One of the dancers recognized Yao Yao and covered her mouth with her hand. The backstage room wasn't that large, and Peter heard the comments about Yao Yao's identity. He was secretly delighted. The Yao family? They were even more powerful than the Zhao family of Taiha real estate. Ha ha ha, as long as he could get this girl, he could reach the sky in one step and become the Yao family's son-in-law. At that point, even Zhao Tai would have to kneel and lick his feet. Chapter 65. Peter is dead. Hey, beautiful and unique lady. I hope you can seriously consider my suggestion. Peter flipped his hair, adopting what he considered a very handsome pose, handing his business card to Yao Yao. Peter was very experienced in dealing with this kind of arrogant and spoiled rich girl. They were the most likely to fawn over foreigners. These ballet dancers were a good example. None of them had a weak family background. It was just that they didn't have the reputation and power of the Yao family. After finishing her makeup, Yao Yao's exquisite and beautiful face was cold. Her entire being radiated a frosty aura. She stood up, ready to leave. Peter watched Yao Yao's sexy and alluring back with a smile, licking his lips. Little firecracker, let's see how long you can pretend. With half an hour left until the ballet competition, Yao Yao didn't want to stay backstage. She was annoyed seeing that idiot who had returned from studying abroad, spouting English every other word. She looked around at the entrance, but couldn't find Han Chen anywhere. Annoyed, Yao Yao stomped her foot, pouted, took out her phone and sent him a message. Then, she waited at the entrance for the ballet competition to begin. Yao Yao appeared as the finale, immediately stunning the crowd. Her flexibility was truly remarkable. Every dance pose was breathtaking. Han Chen sat in the audience, grinning. He hadn't expected that this girl knew these moves. He would have to try them out sometime. Peter stared at Yao Yao with burning desire. He felt an itch in his heart, making it clear to himself that he would take this woman. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he noticed someone sitting in the second row, which caused him to tremble. He had goosebumps all over. That person looked like Zhao Tai's godfather. It must be my imagination. After the ballet competition finished, it was already afternoon. Han Chen walked out of the venue with his arms around Yao Yao. The ballet competition was held at the largest dance hall in the city center. Outside the dance hall was a large parking lot. At this time, there was only Yao Yao's red Lamborghini in the parking lot. As she wondered what was happening, a Rolls-Royce slowly appeared. Then, balloons began slowly floating up into the sky. Peter stepped out of the Rolls-Royce looking very handsome, walking toward Yao Yao with a confident smile. Han Chen narrowed his eyes, smiling coldly. Yao Air, do you want to be kept by a gigolo? Yao Yao's face went pale, stomping her foot hard. She could only lean on Han Chen, trying to explain. Big brother Chen, I don't know him. The closer Peter got to Yao Yao, the more he realized that the man next to her was beginning to look more and more like. Yao Yao put her hands on her hips, glaring at Peter. You trash, get lost. Peter smiled, offering the flowers he was carrying in the most gentlemanly manner possible. Miss Yao, from today on, I will carefully prepare a gift for you every day. No woman could refuse a handsome man who had returned from studying abroad with a doctorate and was willing to prepare gifts for her every day. Peter was confident that within a month, Yao Yao would fall madly in love with him, because he had used this method to pursue a princess from a small country overseas. In less than half a month, that princess was waiting for him in a cat-themed lingerie in a hotel bed. "Peter, are you really free?" Han Shen's voice came softly from the right, causing Peter to instantly freeze on the spot. He turned his head mechanically, stammering, "Gee, Godfather? What are you doing here?" I'm finished. I went and picked up a girl in front of him again." "Godfather?" Yao Yao was dumbfounded. "Big Brother Chin, how can you have such a stupid godson?" Han Shun said coldly. "He's not my godson. He's just a barking dog." Peter knew he had said the wrong thing and immediately began slapping his own mouth. Yes, I'm just a barking dog." A murderous intent flashed in Han Chin's eyes. "It seems the lesson I gave you last time wasn't enough." Peter's scalp tingled. He dropped to his knees with a thud, begging for mercy and kowtowing incessantly. I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again." "It's fine. Just be more careful in your next life," Han Shen said calmly, and with a single strike of his palm, he sent Peter flying backward, crashing heavily onto the Rolls-Royce. With a wah, he spat out blood. His head lolled to the side. He was completely dead. Yao Yao's gaze at Han Shun was filled with rebellious, girlish admiration. The love in her eyes was palpable. Wow, Big Brother Chin was so handsome and domineering. "Drive, go to Yunhai Villa." Han Shin slapped Yao Yao's butt as a small punishment. Yao Yao lowered her head, blushing, and awkwardly started the car. When they reached Yunhai Villa, she hesitated for a long time before finally asking, "Big Brother Chun, are you free tomorrow night?" "What is it?" "I would like to show you the flexibility of the human body." "Speak plainly." "Ugh, it's just that. I want to do, hanky-panky, with Big Brother Chin in bed." Yao Yao lowered her head shyly, acting coquettish. Han Chin grinned. "All right then. Hee then, bye-bye, Big Brother Chin." Han Chin got out of the car and waved casually. Yao Yao bit her lip. Tomorrow, she would definitely make Big Brother Chin's eyes pop. She wanted him to know she was no less than Lan Yueshi. That night, at 11:40, a figure climbed out of Yunhai Villa 301 and quickly made his way to 302. Han Shen went to find White Fox, in a rush after Lan Yueshi had fallen asleep. The fox spirit had already made many phone calls and sent WeChat voice messages urging him. Tonight was a full moon night. When White Fox saw Han Shin come in, she revealed her 9 foxtails and directly pinned him down. Lan Yueshi got up early and saw that Han Shun had 2 dark circles under his eyes, looking like he had been drained. She became worried and her heart ached for him. "Are you feeling unwell again?" "I'll stay at home with you today." "It's nothing, wife, just a minor issue." "I'm still worried about you." "It's okay for me to go to the company later." Han Shun coughed lightly. Lan Yueshi was determined to take care of Han Shun. She took out her phone and called the secretary, telling them that she would arrive later to work. Then, she helped Han Shin to bed. "I'll go. Make you something to eat?" Han Shin felt like he was facing a great enemy and hurriedly said, "I'm not hungry, wife." "No, you're weak now. You have to eat something to replenish yourself." "I'll just order you takeout." Lan Yueshi thought of the last time she had made dinner for Han Shun and almost burned the kitchen down. Her face flushed instantly. Han Shin breathed a sigh of relief, as long as his wife didn't cook dinner personally. Soon, the takeout arrived at the villa. Lan Yueshi scooped up the soup, blew on it, and fed it to Han Shun. Han Shin opened his mouth and ate it, grinning. "It tastes much better when wife feeds me." Lan Yueshi just kept feeding Han Shin. "Drink more if it tastes good. I also ordered you matsutake mushroom and oyster stew. I looked it up online. It's the best for replenishing men's health." Han Shin smiled slyly, teasing Lan Yueshi. "Wife, don't you know that when men eat matsutake mushroom and oyster stew, they can go 18 times in a night?" Chapter 66, Birthday Party. I didn't know that." Lan Yueshi's face turned even redder. "The internet didn't say that." "Oh no, why did I order this soup?" Han Shin laughed heartily. After Han Shin finished his takeout, Lan Yueshi quickly cleaned up and then hurried to the company. Han Shun was now focused on improving his cultivation and reaching the half-step ascension realm to avenge the Han family. He gritted his teeth and decided to refine the supreme spirit spring that his master had given him before he left the Kunlun snow region. Han Shin took out the small gourd bottle from his pants pocket. Inside the small gourd bottle was the unique spirit spring from the snow region. The spirit spring inside was the highly concentrated version of a ton of spirit spring. It had the effect of accelerating the growth of medicinal plant roots, increasing their age by decades in just a few days. It could also increase cultivation, allowing Han Shan to jump to the martial god realm. The reason that he had dripped a little bit of the spirit spring into the water of the rootless water last time at Shangguan Mansion was to accelerate the growth of the heavenly star grass roots. His current cultivation level was still stuck at the peak of Martial King. For many years, there had been a faint trend of breakthrough, but he could not find the right opportunity. Han Shan intended to use the heavenly star grass roots to help him stabilize the martial god realm. That's right. The roots of the heavenly star grass could stabilize his realm. The martial god realm was different from the martial king, grandmaster, and martial artist realms. Once one stepped into the martial god realm, the entire person would be transformed. One could truly touch the true energy of the world and share it with the flowers, plants, and trees. Even a leaf or a drop of water could become a weapon. Han Shan sat cross-legged on the bed and tilted his head, drinking the entire bottle of spirit spring. After the spirit spring entered his throat, Han Shan felt only a burning, stinging heat. Then, his entire body became hot and flushed, as if impurities were being discharged from his body. When the spirit spring circulated throughout his body completely, Han Shan's entire body felt as if it had been hit by a giant elephant. It was also as if he was being bitten by ants. His bones crunched and cracked, broken then put back together, repeating the process over and over, tempering his body. Han Shan clenched his teeth, not loosening his grip, enduring the pain of breaking into the martial god realm while refining the spirit spring. He didn't know how much time had passed before the bright sun shone into the room. Han Shan's entire body shimmered with a golden glow, as if it were gilded. It looked holy in the sunlight. Boom! Han Shan opened his eyes. Two astonishing beams of light shot out from his eyes, piercing two holes in the wall. Success! Han Shan took a deep breath. Was this the martial god realm? With every breath, Han Shan was in harmony with the flowers, plants, and trees, breathing in their energy and using it to nourish himself. With a single raise of his hand, he could touch the true energy in the air. Han Shan sighed. The true energy of Earth was still too scarce. No wonder he had never heard of anyone cultivating to the Ascension realm and thus to the immortal world. But it didn't matter. The one thing he had the most of was time. Han Shan went to take a shower, washing away the impurities that his body had discharged during the breakthrough. When he came out, he received a WeChat message from Yao Taizhan. Yao Taizhan told him that the Shangguan Mansion's medicine cellar was opening in 2 days, mentioned Li Qizhen's visit to the Yao family, and asked Han Shan if he wanted to go. Han Shan thought for a while, and since heavenly star grass needed to be taken when freshly harvested to stabilize his realm, he agreed. After he came out, Lan Yueshi returned. She was carrying a lot of fruit. She had asked her secretary to buy them before she finished work. She wanted to supplement him with vitamins. Lan Yueshi guessed that Han Shan was lacking vitamins, which was why he had returned a bit later. As soon as she entered, she saw that Han Shan was busy in the kitchen. Her heart immediately felt warm. Lan Yueshi thought that since her cooking skills were average, she might as well go to the kitchen to help and also learn how to cook. When she went to the kitchen, Han Shan happened to turn around. Lan Yueshi was stunned. Han Shan? The person in front of her looked 7 or 8 parts similar to Han Shan, but he was much more handsome and had an otherworldly immortal air and handsomeness. Wife, you're back. When Han Shan saw Lan Yueshi, he grinned. Lan Yueshi averted her gaze, her heart pounding quickly. Yes. After dinner, when she was lying in bed, Lan Yueshi could not understand why, after one day, Han Shan had become so handsome. Could it be, as the secretary had said, that I had really fallen in love with Han Shan? Touching her pounding chest, Lan Yueshi recalled the feeling she had had then, both happy and excited. Was this the feeling of liking someone? It was so wonderful. Lan Yueshi was a little intoxicated with the feeling she had had when she saw Han Shan. She had been happy and full of excitement. Han Shan was as calm as the ocean. He hadn't noticed the change in Lan Yueshi at all. He had noticed that Lan Yueshi had gotten up early and was going to make breakfast. But Lan Yueshi had driven off in a hurry, leaving a sentence. Remember to come with me to Mrs. Gu's birthday party tonight. I'll have your suit delivered. During the day, Han Shan cultivated at home. Time passed quickly. In the evening, Han Shan put on the suit that had been delivered. It fit him perfectly. His wife was so considerate. When Lan Yueshi drove to pick him up, she saw Han Shan standing by the side of the road, waiting for her. Her heartbeat sped up involuntarily. Get in. Lan Yueshi spoke with a tremor. She didn't know why her breathing became unstable whenever she tried to talk to Han Shan. The secretary had said that it was a sign of a racing heartbeat, that she liked someone. Han Shan sat down on the car seat, grinning. Wife, do you think I've become much more handsome? Why do you say that? Because you've been staring at me for 10 minutes before opening the door to let me in. When she was exposed by Han Chun, Lan Yueshi's face turned redder. She was flushed and her breathing became rapid. She could only focus on driving to divert her attention. Mrs. Gu was frail, and her birthday parties were always held at the Gu family's old mansion. As one of the 4 major families in Hailan City, families with influence and status in Hailan City would come to celebrate such an important occasion. When Lan Yueshi and Han Chen arrived, they drew everyone's attention. One was cold and beautiful, with a stunning appearance and aura. The other was like a banished immortal, with a handsome and sharp face. When Gu Chunhong saw Han Chun, her mouth dropped open. Why did this rascal become so handsome when he was wearing a suit? She came to the two of them in her high heels, grumbling. Yeah, you actually brought this rascal with you. Han Chun grinned. Yeah is my wife. Why can't I come to the party with her? Rascal, humph. From now on, Yeah will be with me. You, go find somewhere else to play. Gu Chuntong was annoyed. Today, she wanted to bring Yeah and her brother together again. How could she when this rascal was here? Where my wife is, that's where I'll be. Han Chun crossed his arms, looking down on Gu Chuntong. He caught a glimpse out of the corner of his eye of a person who had been sizing him up, and a cold thought flashed in his mind. Interesting. I didn't expect to meet an acquaintance here. Chapter 67. Han Guojing. Hmph, I don't care. Gu Chunong pulled Lan Yueshi straight towards Mrs. Gu, and Han Shan shook his head, not following the two of them. After becoming a martial god, Han Chen's mental power covered the entire Gu family's old mansion and the surrounding 10 kilometers. Even if something were to happen at the Gu family's banquet, Han Chen would be able to sense it and find Lan Yueshi in an instant. Han Chen's appearance had drawn everyone's attention. Gu Mingyao, seeing him and Lan Yueshi entering together, felt a sharp pain in his heart. Was Yueshi really going to marry this man? But when he saw his sister pull Lan Yueshi to their mother and the 3 of them talking and laughing, the flame in his heart ignited once again. He hurriedly went downstairs to strike up a conversation with Lan Yueshi. Lan Yueshi was talking with Gu Chuntong and her mother with a helpless smile. After about 5 minutes, when she turned back to look in Han Chen's direction, he was gone. The man who was talking jovially with the guests at the banquet was Gu Chuantong's father, Gu Yangxing. Gu Yangxing's attitude towards one man was a little subtle, with a hint of ingratiation. Han Chen recognized this man. He was from the Han family of Kyoto, named Han Guojing. He had some connection with Han Chen's father. He would have to call this man his second uncle, and his cultivation was at the Grandmaster realm. Han Guojing had come for the heavenly stargrass at Shangguan Mountain. This heavenly stargrass would allow the Han family to add another Grandmaster-level martial artist. Although the Han family's patriarch had already reached the martial god realm, he rarely left the mountain. He was always in secluded cultivation. If he were to appear, it would mean a major event had happened in Kyoto. Those who could take charge of the overall situation were the Han family head, whose cultivation was at the martial king level. To control the Han family shares, and to have a position in the Han family, the minimum cultivation was Grandmaster. Han Guojing's son was already at the peak of the 9th grade of martial artist 3 years ago, with 1 foot in the Grandmaster realm. With this heavenly stargrass, he would become a Grandmaster. When Han Chen and Lan Yueshi appeared, Han Guojing saw him at a glance and was startled. This man's face was strangely familiar. As his mental power gradually reached out to probe, he was shocked by Han Chen's powerful mental power. Han Guojing did not dare to probe any further, knowing that Han Chen's cultivation was more powerful than his own. He was so young, and his cultivation was already so high. Han Guojing dared not be reckless, and he had to be extremely cautious. He intended to get some information from Gu Yangxing. At this time, Gu Yangxing was introducing Gu Chunong to Han Guojing. Mr. Han, this is my daughter, Chunong. This is my son, Gu Mingyao. Gu Mingyao stood aside with an elegant bearing, and Han Guojing looked at him, nodding in appreciation. This is my wife. Mrs. Gu's face was pale, and her breathing was rapid, clearly someone who had been sick for a long time. Standing beside her was Lan Yueshi. Gu Yangxing introduced Lan Yueshi to Han Guojing. This is the president of the Lan group, Lan Yueshi. Hearing the name Lan Yueshi, Han Guojing's heart skipped a beat. The Lan family? I didn't expect you to be Lan Yueshi. The Lan group almost went bankrupt a few years ago. I heard you were Lan Shengxiong's granddaughter. I didn't expect you to be so young. Han Guojing praised her. Lan Yueshi nodded gracefully, not losing the Lan family's composure. Thank you for your praise, Uncle Han. As the Gu family's banquet was about to end, Lan Yueshi had yet to see Han Chun. She couldn't help but feel a little anxious. Just as she was about to leave, Gu Chunong pulled Gu Mingyao over. Yeah, why don't you sleep at my house tonight? You always do. No, Han Chun came with me. It's not appropriate for me to stay here alone. Lan Yueshi used her hand to tuck her hair behind her ear, gently rejecting the offer. Yeah, that guy hasn't been seen since the start of the banquet. He must have been charmed away by some young lady. Gu Chunong pouted, pulling Lan Yueshi. Let's go. Brother, why don't you hurry up and persuade Yaya? Gu Chunong kept winking at Gu Mingyao. Gu Mingyao felt conflicted. He didn't dare to express his love for Lan Yueshi, only able to love her in secret. Although the shock he had received from Han Chun last time hadn't subsided, the thought of Lan Yueshi marrying someone else made him feel dizzy. Yeah, Chuntong is right. My mom also wants you to stay here a little longer. After thinking about it, the thought of Yaya living alone with that kind of young man made Gu Mingyao feel distressed. He still opened his mouth to persuade Lan Yueshi to stay. My wife is going home with me. Suddenly, Han Chun walked out of the shadows, smiling at Lan Yueshi. When Lan Yueshi saw Han Chun, her lost and anxious heart was instantly filled with joy, her face radiant with a happy smile. Gu Mingyao's eyes had been fixed on her. Seeing how strongly Yaya reacted to Han Chun's arrival, he felt sour and distressed. Wife, it's getting late. You need to go to sleep. Han Chun grinned. Lan Yueshi blushed and walked towards him. Gu Mingyao could only stare at the backs of the two of them as they left, his heart aching to the point of being unable to breathe. On the way back to Yunhai Villa, Lan Yueshi didn't say a word, but she was constantly watching Han Chun. Han Chun had noticed that the true energy in the Gu family's old mansion was dense. He had found a secluded place to cultivate for a while, which helped to stabilize his cultivation, which had just broken into the martial god realm. As long as he went to Shangguan Mountain in 2 days to get the roots of the heavenly star grass, the martial god realm would be completely stabilized, and he would enter the peak of the first grade. During the day, Han Chun would go to the Gu family's villa to cultivate, returning home before evening to cook for Lan Yueshi. When they were bored, they would play a game of Gamoku until it was time for Lan Yueshi's biological clock to tell her to go back to her room and sleep. At night, Han Chun also cultivated. Shangguan Mountain. The day the Shangguan Mountains medicine cellar opened was even more lively than Mrs. Gu's birthday banquet. Those who came were all from the martial arts circle, mostly from different cities in Great Xia, wanting to buy some rare, high-grade medicinal herbs from Shangguan Mountain to prepare for increasing their cultivation. Medicinal herbs that were 25 years or older were used by the Shangguan family. Herbs with higher ages were gifted to some major families, such as the Han family, or to grandmasters. Only a few were sold as favors. Medicinal herbs between 15 and 25 years old were very scarce, only a few dozen each year, sometimes even less. Herbs between 10 and 15 years old were a bit more plentiful, over 100. Those younger than 10 years were even less common, around 200. Han Chun came with Yao Taizhan and his son, and he was publicly known to be a grandmaster. Han Guojing was seated at the head of the reception hall. Li Qizhen was sitting on the side, while Shangguan Meijin and Shangguan Yingxue waited 3 meters away, as did the other 4 branches of the family. Are you saying that the heavenly star grass is 70 years old? Li Qizhen nodded. Yes, Master Wang misjudged it before. After a period of time, the heavenly star grass showed signs of blooming. That's when we discovered it was 70 years old. That's great. If it's truly a heavenly star grass of 70 years old, then your Shangguan family has done a great deed. Han Guojing was very satisfied with the heavenly star grass's age and praised Li Qizhen. This is what the Shangguan family should do. Li Qizhen suddenly thought of Han Chun. He also believed in Han. The events of that year were a secret among the 4 major families. Few people knew about it. The ancient Lan family recipe had always been watched closely. Han Guojing was one of the Han family's power holders. Although he didn't have as much power as the family head, he had come to Hailan City in person to retrieve the heavenly star grass. There must be another reason behind it. Chapter 68. Han Chun is a member of the Han family. Before the time for the opening of the medicine cellar, Li Qizhen had already gone with Han Guojing to the medicine cellar. After cutting the fresh, heavenly star grass, she placed the roots in a special jade box. The jade box could temporarily slow down the speed at which the roots would dry out. Afterwards, Li Qizhen asked Shangguan Yingxue to contact Han Shun and have him come early to take it. Han Shun was currently with Yao Taizhan and Yao Daxing at Shangguan Mountain, chatting with the other martial artists. Being able to reach the Grandmaster realm at such a young age made many people envious, but there was more admiration for Han Shun. Senior Han is so young, and he was able to become a Grandmaster. His talent is truly remarkable. He will have a bright future. What a martial artist sought was to cultivate to the Ascension realm and go to the immortal world, truly achieving immortality. However, immortality was not that easy. Many martial artists knew that the patriarchs behind the 4 major families in Kyoto were only at the martial god realm. Their entire lives were spent pursuing ascension. But even that couldn't stand up to the limits of life expectancy. With age, they would grow old. The martial god realm could live to 250 years old, which was already an opportunity from the heavens. So these old guys were scrambling to cultivate, always looking for a way to achieve immortality. Immortality was extremely difficult. Only by cultivating to the Ascension realm and going to the immortal world could one achieve immortality. After the major crisis that had occurred in the Han family over 10 years ago, this secret had spread throughout the martial arts circle. The young man in front of them was only in his 20s. Although he had just reached the Grandmaster realm, if he had good luck and enough opportunities, perhaps he would have a chance to reach the martial god realm in his lifetime. Although he would not reach the Ascension, it would still be enough to make him the #1 person in Great Xia. Yes, I've become an old man, but I'm still stuck in the martial artist realm, many people said with shame. Qin Jifeng had something to do today and came late. When he arrived, he saw many people surrounding Han Shun. While feeling envious, he was also filled with fighting spirit. Only by being strong would people around you respect you. But after the battle with Lei Kuan, there were signs that Qin Jifeng's cultivation might break through. He had come to Shangguan Mountain today to buy a medicinal herb that was around 30 years old to prepare for his breakthrough. Yao Taizhan and his son were constantly helping to make conversation. Han Shun would occasionally reply, with a gentle attitude. The surrounding martial artists did not feel resentful because of this. Instead, they thought Han Shun was kind and approachable. After all, in the martial arts circle, grandmasters were inviolable. At this time, Han Shun's phone rang. It was a message from Shangguan Yingxue, telling him to come early to pick up the Heavenly Star grassroots. Han Shun glanced at the phone message but didn't reply to Shangguan Yingxue. When it was time to open the medicine cellar, Li Qizhen came out, with Han Guojing standing next to her. Han Shun stood out from the crowd, and his aura was special. Han Guojing recognized him at a glance as the senior he had seen at the Gu families that night. Dear martial artist friends, it is truly an honor for me, old womanly, to have you all come to my Shangguan Mountain today. After Li Qizhen said some platitudes, she introduced the visitors. This is Han Guojing, from the direct line of the Han family in Kyoto. What? Does Shangguan Mountain have that much prestige? They were actually able to invite Han Guojing from Kyoto. It is said that this Han Guojing has already reached the martial king realm. Although he is only a second-grade martial king, he is a top expert in Great Xia. It seems that the rumors are true. The Shangguan family really did latch onto the Han family. Many people sighed. When Li Qizhen heard the envious comments of these martial artists, a sense of pride welled up inside her. When that scumbag abandoned her, so many people had wanted to watch her make a fool of herself. Today, the Shangguan family had finally completely stood in front of the martial arts community, and no one could question Li Qizhen's abilities anymore. Shangguan Mountain is opening medicine cellar #1 today. After you have entered, friends, if you like a certain herb, register the price with the servants next to you. If a few martial artist friends are interested in the same medicinal herb, the rule is still the same as before. The highest bidder wins. As soon as Li Qizhen finished speaking, the martial artists all became excited. Medicine cellar #1? Shangguan Mountain hasn't opened medicine cellar #1 in so many years. This year, the Han family came, and that's why they opened medicine cellar #1. The best herbs inside must have been taken by Han Guojing. Do you dare to compete with Han Guojing? There are also many high-grade herbs in medicine cellar #1. Luckily, I brought a lot of money with me this year. I'll buy anything I set my eyes on. Ah, too bad. I didn't bring much money when I left. Yao Taizhan was very excited. He said apologetically to Han Shun, Senior Han, I want to go see the medicine cellar #1. Okay, go. Han Shun nodded, agreeing to let Yao Taizhan and Yao Daxing go to the medicine cellar. He had to prepare to find Shangguan Yingxue to get the roots of the Heavenly Star grass. It was easy to locate Shangguan Yingxue's aura. When Han Chen found Shangguan Xue, she was discussing something with Aunt Xue, with a special jade box in her hand. Master Han. When Aunt Xue saw that Han Chen had arrived, she was surprised. Why did he look even more like an immortal now than he had a few days ago? His skin was like jade, and he radiated a transcendent aura. Although Han Chen now looked 7 or 8 parts similar to his previous self, he was much more handsome. Han Chen nodded lightly. Hearing Aunt Xue respectfully refer to Han Chen, Shangguan Xue quickly turned around. What met her eyes was an extremely handsome face. You. Shangguan Xue covered her lips, surprised. Her eyes filled with amazement. Didn't you ask me to come and pick up the heavenly star grassroots? Han Chen grinned. Don't be mesmerized by my handsomeness. I'm just a legend. After being teased by Han Chen, Shangguan Xue realized that she had been staring at him. She immediately became shy, her face blushing red like a ripe cherry. Master Han, the heavenly star grass is in here. Shangguan Xue quickly handed the special jade box to Han Chen. Han Chen nodded in satisfaction. He had been worried that the heavenly star grass roots would wither after being removed from the soil. He hadn't expected that the Shangguan family had a method to slow down the withering of medicinal herbs. Come to Yunhai Villa tomorrow to get the jade box. After speaking, Han Chen prepared to go back to Yunhai to refine the heavenly star grass roots. At that time, Han Guojing came over, with Li Qijin following behind him. Patriarchally, who is this? Han Guojing looked at Han Chen, pretending to be puzzled as he asked Li Qijin. Mr. Han, this is Han Chen. He was the one who saved the heavenly star grass. He is a grandmaster level. As she spoke, Li Qijin felt like she had realized something earth-shattering. Han Chen's surname was also Han, and looking closely, he actually looked 5 parts similar to Han Guojing. Could he also be a member of the Han family? Or was he Han Guojing's illegitimate son? But looking at Han Guojing's expression, he didn't recognize Han Chen at all. Li Qijin was puzzled, even more curious about Han Chen's identity. When Han Guojing heard the name Han Chen, the look in his eyes that was fixed on his face suddenly froze. This face overlapped with the face in his memory. He suddenly recalled that his younger brother had said that if he had a son, he would name him Han Chen. Could the person before him be? That's not right. Han Chen's cultivation was higher than his. How could a young man have such high cultivation? It just so happened that his surname was also Han. An idea suddenly surfaced in his mind, and Han Guojing's whole body was covered with goosebumps. This matter was very important, and he had to tell the family head. Han Chen grinned. I am Han Chen. Chapter 69. There really was 10 billion. Han Chen's words left Shangguan Xue bewildered, and Xue slightly turned to the side, showing respect for knowing his name, while Li Qijin remained expressionless, with the same amiable demeanor. Only Han Guojing, as if struck by lightning, stood frozen in place. However, he quickly composed himself, and just nodded faintly, extending his hand to shake Han Chen's. I didn't expect that Mr. Han would be able to reach the Grandmaster realm at such a young age. I am Han Guojing. My family is the Han family of Kyoto. Speaking of which, we share the same surname. Maybe we were one family 800 years ago. Han Guojing distanced himself from Han Chen. There were 2 reasons for that. The first was that he didn't know if Han Chen was his brother's son or a decoy sent by the Huang family. The second was that if Han Chen really was from the Han family's bloodline, his cultivation and identity could not be publicized, at least not now. After all, the events of the Han family in Hailan City back then were widely known. Only the 4 major families, and a very few people knew about immortality and the ancient Lan family recipe. Word had come out from the Huang family that the martial god from that time had already reached the 6th grade. It was a well-known fact that once someone had reached the martial god realm, it was harder than ascending to heaven to take another step. The head of the Han family had been in secluded cultivation for 60 years, trying to break through to the 4th grade of martial god, but he had yet to come out. While the others in the other families were at least a 2nd grade martial god. Was there no peak martial god in Great Xia? Of course there was. Those at the peak of martial arts would only serve the country. Now that it was the nuclear weapons era, cultivators of the martial god realm were not 100% certain that they could avoid bullets, tanks, or artillery fire. If the martial artists wanted to take another step forward in their cultivation, they could only rely on the few secret realms with scarce resources that were held by the state. Han Guojing planned to report this matter to the head of the Han family. After the family head had investigated Han Chen's background and confirmed that he was a member of the Han family's bloodline who had been left outside, the Han family would definitely bring Han Chen back, making him formally recognize his ancestors and return to his lineage. As for the matter of the Han family's branch in Hailan City, the Han family could let bygones be bygones and could forgive the branch for concealing their cooperation with the Shangwan family in studying the secret to immortality, the ancient Lan family recipe. When Han Guojing thought of the Lan family, he realized that he had another purpose for coming here. It was to get the ancient Lan family recipe into his hands. It seemed that he would have to find an opportunity to meet with the president of this Lan group, Lan Yueshi. Han Chun narrowed his eyes and snorted coldly. Maybe we were one family 800 years ago. Not anymore. Han Chun hefted the special jade box in his hand and said to Shangwaning Shue, I have something to do. I'll go back now. Han Chun stepped out, ready to leave. Suddenly, he heard Gu Chuantong's voice. What are you talking about? How could I, this young lady, not have the money to buy this medicinal herb? Gu Chunong had overheard a conversation between her father and a friend and learned that the Shangwan Mountains medicine cellar would be open today. So, she had come behind her father's back, wanting to buy some herbs for her mother that could cure her illness. When she arrived at Shangwan Mountain, even a casual medicinal herb cost hundreds of thousands. Her allowance was already small, and a woman, after all, how could she not have a desire to spend money? In more than 20 years, she had saved up only 300,000. However, the medicinal herb she had set her eyes on cost 600,000. Gu Chuntong had intended to call Lan Yueshi, but after calling her several times without her picking up, she had surmised that she was in a meeting. Someone had taken a liking to the medicinal herb that Gu Chuntong wanted to buy and was bidding against her up to 800,000. Gu Chuntong stomped her feet in frustration. However, when she had entered, the son-in-law of the 4 branches that were guarding the entrance to Shangwan Mountain had already told her the rules. If she wanted this medicinal herb, she could only continue to bid. As she was considering whether to buy it or not, the person who was bidding against Gu Chuntong actually mocked her for not having any money. If you have money, speak with money. The person was a martial artist. Seeing that Gu Chuntong didn't have any inner strength and was an ordinary person, he had evil intentions. His lustful eyes roamed over her chest, and he chuckled lecherously. Little girl, if you really don't have the money, you can spend a night with me, and I'll give you this herb. Gu Chuantong's face flushed red with anger. In your dreams. Damn it. You dare act recklessly here when you're just an ordinary person. I'll show you what's what. Gu Chunong didn't know why the guests at Shangwan Mountain gave her such a strong oppressive feeling today. She thought that when she went out, men would be mesmerized by her, obediently listening to her. Even women would be wary of her, the eldest daughter of the Gu family. Just as the martial artist was about to slap Gu Chuntong, a hand grabbed his arm. The martial artist was immediately enraged. Without turning back to see who it was, he began cursing. Who the hell is it, daring to interfere with my business? Han Qin didn't reply. When Gu Chuntong saw Han Qin there, her eyes widened, staring at him in disbelief. Han Qin grinned. Gu Chuntong, why are you here? Gu Chuntong pouted, turning away with a hum. She felt a little wronged. You rascal. Why did you only come now? Someone was about to bully me. I came to buy herbs to treat my mom's illness. Gu Chuantong's eyes had become red-rimmed, and her voice had even become choked with sobs. You rascal, it was him who bullied me. You have to avenge me. Gu Chuntong pointed at the martial artist whose arm was grabbed by Han Chun. Han Chun chuckled wickedly. Then I'll cripple his arm. When the martial artist heard this, he sneered, and was just about to turn around to curse when he saw that it was Han Chun. His face instantly changed. It was a grandmaster. Before he could even open his mouth to beg for mercy, Han Chun lightly moved his hand. They only heard a crack, and the martial artist's hand bones instantly shattered, followed by screams that echoed to the sky. Those who were close to the martial artist stepped forward to speak on his behalf, but they were frozen in place by a cold glare from Han Chun, not daring to move anymore. Gu Chuntong, I avenged you. This was the first time Gu Chunong had been protected so openly. Her heart was warm, and with Han Chin's overbearing aura, her eyes were full of little hearts. But on the surface, she still acted like she looked down on Han Chun. Which one did you like? Han Chin glanced at the medicinal herb that Gu Chuntong had her eyes on. This one? Yes. I heard this herb can cure my mom's illness. Gu Chuntong tilted her chin, putting her hands on her hips, and thrust out her chest, quite confidently. Do you have the money to buy it? No. He bought this herb. Gu Chuntong was almost in tears. Today was the opening day of Shangwan Mountains Medicine Cellar #1. She didn't know how long she would have to wait to get another opportunity. She might have time, but her mother's body was getting weaker and weaker. Why are you crying? I think the age of this herb is too short. It won't be able to completely cure your mother's illness. Han Xin carefully thought about it. That day when he was saving the heavenly star grass at Shangwan Mountain, he had seen a medicinal herb, although its age was only 30 years, together with a few other supplementary herbs with ages of 30 years. If they couldn't make Gu Chuantong's mother as healthy as a dragon, then at least she would be able to recover from her illness. Follow me. Your brother will take you to buy herbs. Han Xin took Gu Chunhong to the red area of Medicine Cellar #1. On the door, it was clearly written that the herbs in this area were over 25 years old. Please enter with caution. Gu Chunhong stretched out her soft white hand and pulled at Han Xin's arm. The herbs here are too expensive. I don't have any money. As she spoke, her face became redder and her head drooped lower and lower. Han Xin glanced at her and said softly, "What? Did you use up all the 10 billion in that card so quickly?" Gu Chuntong looked up sharply, surprised. Huh. When Gu Chuntong finally came out of the red area of Medicine Cellar #1, she was in a dazed state. There really was 10 billion in the card. Oh my god. How did the rascal earn 10 billion in one day? Chapter 70. Second Grade Martial God. Han Xin casually gave the medicinal herbs in his hand to Shangwan Meijin, who was in charge of the subsequent brewing of medicinal herbs, and instructed Gu Chunong, "Come back in 2 days to pick them up." Shangwan Meijin knew that Han Xin's cultivation was that of a grandmaster. Since he had said it, if Shangwan Mountain didn't do it and make the pills for Gu Chunong, Shangwan Mountain would not have a quiet time in the future. Shangwan Mountain had the technology to refine pills. Although it was not as profound as the States, they were able to produce pills similar to kidney-invigorating pills. Pills could maintain the medicinal properties of herbs more effectively. Han Xin had bought so many high-grade medicinal herbs at once, so Shangwan Mountain needed to send out a master who was proficient in pharmacology and pill refining, so that this grandmaster didn't get a hold of them. Just when Gu Chunhong thought that the matter had ended, Han Xin knocked on the table. "Weren't you saying that you were going to give me a medicinal herb?" Shangwan Meijin raised her head and looked at Han Xin suspiciously. Han Xin frowned. "Didn't Patriarch Li have Yao Tai's Han invite me over and say they would gift me a medicinal herb?" Li Qizhen had spoken with Shangwan Meijin. As long as Yao Tai's Han brought over a Grandmaster-level expert, Shangwan Mountain would have to give away a high-grade medicinal herb to befriend the Grandmaster. This was Shangwan Mountain's method of building connections. "Master Han, please wait a moment. I'll ask Patriarch Yao about this. If you came with the Yao family, you may choose any medicinal herb around 25 years old in Medicine Cellar #1. Han Xin was satisfied with the way Shangwan Meijin handled things. "Go ahead." Shangwan Meijin made a WeChat video call with Yao Tai's Han, asking him about the killing of Lei Kuan and secretly probing if the Grandmaster that the Yao family had assisted was Han Chun. Yao Tai's Han told Shangwan Meijin unequivocally that it was Han Chun, and also to be grateful to Li Qizhen for giving him a high-grade medicinal herb, with a special, veiled reminder, not to mention the other branches of the Shangwan family, as long as the main branch and the old madam of Shangwan clung tightly to Han Chin's coattails. It would only benefit Shangwan Mountain, without any harm. Shangwan Meijin hung up the WeChat video call and turned around to smile at Han Chun. "It has been confirmed. Master Han, you can go to the red area of Medicine Cellar #1 and pick out a medicinal herb." Han Xin nodded in satisfaction and said faintly to Gu Chuntong, "You should obediently find a place to wait for me. I'll go pick out a beauty herb to make an exclusive maintenance mask for my wife." Gu Chuntong pouted, stamping her feet in dissatisfaction. "Such a beautiful woman standing in front of you, and you actually act like I don't exist. You rascal, you've gone too far." Han Xin picked a medicinal herb and went outside to find Gu Chuntong. He reached out and patted her rounded bottom. "Where's the card?" "What card?" Gu Chuntong blinked guiltily, turning her head away to pretend to watch the birds flying in the sky. "The bank card. That was for my wife. You spent 300 million, so the remaining money should be given to Yeya." Han Xin saw through Gu Chuantong's plan to pocket the card at a glance. His face was cold as he said softly, Okay, I'll give it back. Why are you so fierce?" Gu Chuntong reluctantly threw the card to Han Chun, muttering under her breath, "You only have Yeya in your heart. Can't you see that there are other great beauties beside you?" Han Xin suddenly slapped Gu Chuantong's bottom again. Gu Chuntong let out a scream, holding her round, plump bottom as she jumped up. Only then did she realize that Han Chun had just smacked her butt and shouted, "You rascal! How dare you smack my butt? 100 million per slap. There's another slap. Do you want to get slapped or not? If not, then give back the money." Han Chin's 3 sentences completely caused Gu Chunong to surrender. She pouted, her face full of grievance. After hesitating for a long time, she finally turned her back to him, bent over, stuck her butt close to Han Chin, and turned her head to look at him with pitiful eyes, begging him in a soft, sweet voice. "Then you need to be gentle, okay? I'm afraid of pain." Han Chin chuckled wickedly and reached out. Smack, another slap. "Drive. Take me back to Yunhai Villa." Gu Chunhong held her sore and reluctantly went to the Shangguan Mountains garage to get the car. On the way back to Yunhai Villa, Gu Chunhong didn't say anything to Han Chun. After dropping Han Chin off at 301, she didn't even say goodbye, stepping hard on the accelerator, and left. Han Chin shook his head. The young people these days are too impetuous. Back in his own room, Han Chun took out the heavenly star grassroots. After refining them and absorbing them, he sat cross-legged on the bed. A thin layer of light golden impurities emerged from his body. This represented that Han Chun had stabilized his martial god realm and had leaped to the 2nd grade of martial god. Han Chin had a congenital martial god physique. Once he stepped into the martial god realm, his cultivation would become twice as effective, avoiding many detours compared to many geniuses. However, it was still somewhat difficult for Han Chun to reach the half-step ascension realm within a few short months. From his probing of Han Guojing, he could judge that the Han family was not reliable. Otherwise, why, when the Huang family had attacked his parents, his wife's family, they hadn't only not provided any assistance, but also wanted to take advantage of the situation, making the Huang family and the 4 major families of Hailan City fight to the death so that the Kyoto Han family could pick up the scraps. Han Chin laughed coldly. It was a pity that the immortality pill from back then no longer existed. If they wanted to refine an immortality pill in Great Xia, just having the ancient Lan family recipe was not enough. After Han Guojing obtained the heavenly stargrass, he immediately arranged for a connecting flight back to Kyoto. 5 hours later, after landing at the Han family's airfield, Han Guojing went straight to the Han family's head's courtyard. The Han family of Kyoto was a truly century-old family. They had once fought alongside the great leader to establish the country. The Han family was able to stand firm in Kyoto because of their contribution from the beginning. Later, after the patriarch, this martial god realm powerhouse, came out, even after the death of the first family head of the Han family who had followed the great leader, the Han family was still able to rank as one of Great Xia's top families. In their line, there were 4 brothers. The one who died was ranked 3rd. Han Guojing was the 2nd oldest. The oldest was useless, failing to obtain the position of family head. Instead, the youngest brother, the one with the most talent, had seized the position. Now, when Han Guojing saw the 4th son, he had to respectfully call him family head. Family head, I think I may have found the 3rd son's son. The 4th son was in secluded cultivation. He didn't respond when he heard these words. After thinking it over again and again, Han Guojing continued. That child's cultivation is higher than mine. He should be close to the martial god realm. Before the words had even finished, boom. The courtyard door exploded as if it had been bombed. A man stood at the entrance, his eyes flashing with a sharp light. "Second brother, is what you said true?" "It's about 80% likely." After thinking, Han Guojing said affirmatively. Chapter 71. The Underground Queen. Han Jingtian frowned. "Send a few people to thoroughly investigate Han Chin's background. And make it quick. By the way, how many people know about this information?" "For now, only I do," Han Guoqing replied after a moment's thought. Family head, Han Guoqing continued. "If Han Chin really is the 3rd master's son, with his current strength, if he were to find out about the Han family's cooperation with the Huang family back then, wouldn't that?" "Himph, what's there to fear?" Han Zhengtian sneered, reassuring Han Guoqing. All those who knew about that secret from back then have already been eliminated by Xiao Wu. He's just some young punk. No matter how high his cultivation is, can he surpass me? If not, we can cooperate with that old monster from the Huang family and just kill him. No one will be allowed to ruin the Han family's grand plan. Han Guoqing lowered his head, sighing inwardly. He truly was inferior to his younger brother. The 3rd master was a genius at alchemy, and the 3rd master's wife was a brilliant scientist specializing in life sciences. But in the end, the 3rd master was too honest, and his wife was always in the laboratory, never interfering with the Han family's affairs. The eldest son was useless, which gave the fourth master an opening to exploit. In terms of martial arts talent, the fourth master could be compared to the old ancestor. It was just a pity he had a crooked mind. If not for the fourth master's cultivation talent, the old ancestor wouldn't have stepped in to clean up his mess back then. And now he wanted the Huang and Han families to cooperate. The Huang family's old ancestor had already broken through to the 5th grade of martial god. The Han family's old ancestor hadn't sent any word back for so many years. Han Guoqing shook his head. Perhaps his level wasn't high enough to be valued by the old ancestor. The fourth master must know about the old ancestor's whereabouts. Thinking this, Han Guoqing hesitated for a while before finally asking, "Fourth master, just give me a straight answer. Where's the old ancestor?" "Don't worry about the old ancestor. He even sent me a message last month, saying that he's already broken through to the 5th grade and has stepped into the 6th, Han Jingtian said, his eyes filled with derision. That old monster from the Huang family is still a step below the old ancestor. Trying to suppress the old ancestor in terms of cultivation, that plan of his is probably going to backfire. Hearing Han Jingtian's confident assurances, Han Guoqing finally breathed a sigh of relief. In the Tianma district, formerly the Tianma group, at the Black Spade A bar, Jiang Cece lay on the bed, wearing only a semi-transparent lace negligee, her beautiful legs exposed. She wasn't wearing any underwear underneath. Her hand held a cell phone as she made a call. "Have you found it?" Ever since being released by Han Chun, Jiang Cece had voluntarily become his servant and began gathering the former members of Zheng Wang's crew. But after so much time, Han Chun had not contacted her. This left Jiang Cece unsure of what the great man was thinking, and she dared not harbor any thoughts of betrayal. After taking over the Black Spade bar, she realized how difficult it would be for someone to make their way from the bar to the basement unscathed. A normal person would never be able to do that. Moreover, Jiang Cece had witnessed firsthand how Ma Yisheng, after drinking the mysterious potion, went from a man whose legs were crippled by gunshots to a terrifying muscle man overflowing with power. And then he was killed by Han Chun with a single kick. That scene had been replaying in Jiang Cece's mind, even disturbing her sleep at night. Jiang Cece spoke into the phone quietly, a hint of impatience in her voice. "What? Still haven't found him?" "We have, but we've only found his contact information." The voice on the other end paused before reporting a string of numbers. The numbers were Han Chin's. Jiang Cece was able to take over Ma Yisheng's Tianma group in such a short time and swallow all of his assets because her keen intuition was unmatched by most people. Jiang Cece had sensed that a mysterious and powerful force had been watching her lately. Once, when picking her daughter up from school, she had seen a car following them. And when she got up for a drink of water in her villa that night, she'd seen figures in her villa. This had terrified Jiang Cece. That night, she immediately moved with her daughter to the bar, assigning many people to protect her daughter. She didn't know what the other party's intentions were. Just today, Jiang Cece had received a strange call asking if she still knew where the person who killed Ma Yisheng was. Reason told Jiang Cece that she needed to inform Han Chun. The other party must not be able to find him and was trying to find a breakthrough from her. After receiving Han Chun's phone number, Jiang Cece immediately called him. Han Chun was having a video call with Yao Yao, who was unhappy about him standing her up. Suddenly, a call from a stranger flashed on his screen. Han Chun wanted to watch Yao Yao do the splits, so he didn't answer. But the other party kept calling relentlessly. Han Chun frowned. He hung up on Yao Yao and answered the call. Upon hearing the call connect, Jiang Cece immediately breathed a sigh of relief. "Do you remember me?" Jiang Cece didn't know how to address Han Chun, so she tried to jog his memory. "I'm the woman in the basement of the Black Spade A bar. My name is Jiang Cece. Do you remember me?" Jiang Cece didn't hear a reply from Han Chun and knew he didn't remember. So she hastily added, "I know it's you." "Yeah, I remember," Han Chun said blandly. "Sir, are you free now? I have something important to report to you." "Tell me over the phone." Han Chun was a bit displeased. Yao Yao was about to do the splits for him in black silk stockings. What could be more important than that? It's a bit complicated. Jiang Cece hesitated for a few seconds, but still told him about the whole situation. After hearing it, Han Chun said, "Give me the address. I'll come and take a look now." Jiang Cece's red lips curved into a smile. "It's still the Black Spade bar. Just come here." Han Chun left the 301 villa, hailed a cab, and gave the address. The taxi slowly entered the Tianma district. It hadn't changed much since the last time he was here. Only the signs that used to bear the Tianma Group logo now had Zhang's group on them. Arriving at the Black Spade A bar, Han Shan got out and threw a 100 yuan bill at the driver. "Keep the 9. The driver gave Han Shan the change, a look of disdain in his eyes. People who came to the Black Spade A bar were either rich or influential. A poor guy who cared about 9 yuan must be out of place here. But the next second, as Han Shan stood at the entrance of the bar, a woman in a tank top dress and black stockings was guarding the door. As soon as she saw him, she rushed to greet him. "Sir." Jiang Sisi was stunned when she saw Han Shan. Why did he seem so much more handsome this time? Was it because she kept dreaming about him killing people lately that she was starting to find him handsome? "Tell me, what exactly is going on?" Han Shan asked Jiang Sisi as soon as he stepped inside. Jiang Sisi wasn't in a hurry. She led him to the office and waited until they were alone before speaking. "With my current resources, I can only determine that these people have somehow gotten your information from the spider-like creatures that came out of Ma Yixing's body. I used this clue, hired people to investigate, and found that the final destination of the video was overseas." Jiang Sisi played the video for Han Shan. The video showed Han Shan killing Ma Yixing with a single move. Chapter 72. By Qing Shuang arrives. Han Shan frowned slightly, a hint of displeasure on his face. "You made me come all the way here just for this?" Realizing she had annoyed Han Shan, Jiang Sisi quickly explained. "No, sir. A friend of mine works in smuggling overseas, and he found that the 4 major families in Kyoto have business dealings with this overseas location, all under the guise of donations. I also sent people to investigate on site. This overseas organization claims to be a charity foundation, but it's actually conducting some sort of research." Considering Jiang Sisi's capabilities, she had already done a great job. Han Shan sneered. Recalling how Ma Yixing injected that mysterious liquid into his body and transformed from an ordinary person into a 6th grade martial artist, whether it was in terms of combat strength, internal energy, or aura, he was no different from a martial artist. Was this the product of that laboratory? The 4 major families in Kyoto? It seemed the Han family was involved as well. Right, this kind of mysterious potion that could allow a person to efficiently overcome the shackles of the current cultivation level in such a short amount of time. Who wouldn't be moved by it? "You did well," Han Shan praised Jiang Sisi. "It must be because you investigated overseas that these people came after you." Han Shan rubbed his chin, deep in thought. "I know what to do. You just need to watch out for your own safety recently." Jiang Sisi opened her mouth, wanting to say that these people might be targeting you. But Han Shan shot her a cold glare, and Jiang Sisi immediately shut her mouth. "It's getting late. I should head back," Han Shan said, preparing to leave. Jiang Sisi obediently responded with a seductive tone. "Please, take care, sir." Lan Yueshi had been very busy these past few days, managing the collaboration with the Shangguan family. A few days ago, after the Shangguan family's #1 medicine vault was opened, Shangguan Meijin sent a WeChat message saying she wanted to deepen the collaboration with the Lan Group. Yesterday, she sent the contract and asked Lan Yueshi to review it. As long as there weren't any issues, she would personally come to sign it tomorrow. When she returned to the villa in the evening, Han Shan was still cooking dinner. Lan Yueshi ate a few bites, gave Han Shan instructions and expressed care, then hurried upstairs to wash up and sleep. Han Shan needed to increase his cultivation. According to his master, the 4 major families all had martial god-level experts backing them. They were already martial gods over 10 years ago. After all these years, even a pig would have improved. Han Shan was worried that all 4 families were involved in what happened back then. Without any power or a strong force of his own, going up against them was like throwing an egg against a rock. The person Han Shan was most worried about was actually Lan Yueshi. She was a member of the Lan family, and she was deeply involved with him. If the 4 families were to seize her to threaten Han Shan, what should he do then? Han Shan practiced every second he could to improve his cultivation. At the martial god level, it was difficult to improve through cultivation alone. Fortunately, he had a martial god body. As long as he had some high-year medicinal herbs or some of the secret realms held by the government, he might be able to successfully advance to the half-step ascension stage within a few years. But in order to cooperate with the country, he had to show the higher-ups his potential. Han Shan chuckled. He was only in his 20s and was already a martial god. What else was there to show? Thinking this, Han Shan opened his phone, found Bai Qing WeChat, and sent her a message. He thought it was so late that Bai Qing was asleep, but she replied immediately. "Brother Han Shan, you finally came to your senses. Let's talk in person." I'll come to Hailan City to find you tomorrow. Han Shen read the message and didn't reply. He just needed to meet Bai Qingshuang tomorrow, and with the help of the Bai family's connections in the military, inform the higher-ups that he was a martial god. The next morning, Han Shen packed breakfast for Lan Yueshi and left a note. He said he had something to take care of and would be out for the day, telling his wife to remember to eat. Hailan City, Tianma District, Black Spade A Bar. Han Shen spotted Bai Qingshuang in a prominent position. Bai Qingshuang had ordered a strong liquor. She noticed Han Shen's gaze and raised her glass, swirling it. Brother Han Shen, I've missed you so much. As soon as she saw him, Bai Qingshuang enthusiastically put down her glass and opened her arms. With the movement, the two massive objects in front of her shook vigorously. Han Shen went over and hugged Bai Qingshuang, feeling the impact of the large objects. Han Shen grinned. Help me contact the higher-ups in the military. I have something to discuss with them. Han Shen went straight to the point. Bai Qingshuang gave Han Shen a reproachful look, not yet understanding what he meant. What is it? I am a higher-up in the military. The southeastern province is under my Bai family's jurisdiction. I'm talking about someone higher than you, someone directly under the big leader, Han Shen said, tapping the table lightly. Bai Qingshuang's eyes widened. Brother Han Shen, you think too highly of me. How am I going to introduce you to those higher-ups? It's simple. Just tell them that I became a martial god at a little over 20 years old, and I believe they'll come find me soon. Bai Qingshuang was surprised and excited at the same time. She grabbed Han Shen's arm, her eyes sparkling. Wow, Brother Han Shen, are you serious? Yeah. Han Shen nodded calmly. Wow, I knew I didn't misjudge you, Brother Han Shen. You're really amazing. Okay, stop flattering me. 3 days, I'll only give you 3 days. Okay. Bai Qingshuang promised confidently. Han Shen was very satisfied with Bai Qingshuang's attitude. He took out 20 yuan from his bag and threw it to the bartender. Her tab is on me. Only 20 yuan? The bartender's eyes filled with disdain when he received the money, scoffing. Sir, the lady ordered whiskey. It's 180 a glass. What? That's so expensive? Han Shen was in disbelief. What kind of drink was that expensive? Hee, Brother Han Shen. It's so nice of you to buy me a drink, happy? Since the beautiful lady said that, Han Shen could only painfully pull out a 100 yuan bill from his bag. He also took out his phone and opened WeChat to scan. I'll send you the rest on WeChat. At this moment, Jiang Cixi's seductive voice rang out from behind Han Shen. Sir, how did you end up here? Chapter 73. Seeking refuge with the Huang family. Seeing how the usually aloof Jiang Cixi was acting like an obedient cat in front of Han Shen, the bartender quickly ducked his head, afraid to show himself again. Han Shen wasn't surprised to see Jiang Cixi. This was her territory after all. She probably had already received a message from the doorman as soon as he entered the bar. Han Shen waved his hand casually and said, No need. I just came to discuss some matters with a friend. Jiang Cixi glanced at the woman sitting next to Han Shen. She could tell from the woman's domineering aura, no-nonsense attitude, and sharp eyes that she was someone important. Out of a desire to please, Jiang Cixi nodded friendly to Bai Qingshuang. Bai Qingshuang was used to people like Jiang Cixi who were quick to flatter, but since she was an acquaintance of Brother Han Shen, she was still friendly. After Jiang Cixi left, Han Shen gestured to Bai Qingshuang and instructed, Don't tell anyone else about this. Bai Qingshuang nodded solemnly. Don't worry, Brother Han Shen, I know. All right, my time is valuable. If the military has any news, call me. After saying that, Han Shen got up, preparing to leave. Bai Qingshuang followed him out of the bar, feeling a little reluctant to part. Brother Han Shen, won't you stay and have lunch with me today? I'm busy. Han Shen waved. Oh, right. I also want you to help me investigate something. It's about any clues linking the 4 major families of Kyoto to the massacre of the Han family of Hailan City. The 4 major families of Kyoto? Bai Qingshuang hesitated a little. After all, no matter from their background, foundation, or status in Daxia, the 4 major families were much stronger than the Bai family. The 4 families also cultivated their own forces in the military and the combat divisions. When facing external threats, the 4 families always banded together to fight. Once the threat was eliminated, the 4 families wanted nothing more than to eliminate each other and take over as the leading family in Kyoto. Okay, as long as Brother Han Shen asks, I will help you. Bai Qingshuang looked at Han Shen with admiration. A martial god in his 20s, if the news spread, all of Daxia would be in an uproar. Not only Daxia, but the entire world would also be paying attention to Han Shen. Many supernations and powerful forces would also try to recruit Han Chun. Unfortunately, Brother Han Shen didn't care for power and money. In his eyes and heart, there was only Lan Yueshi. Yeah, thanks for the help. Han Shen nodded and reached out to pat Bai Qingxuang's head. His gaze fell on her voluptuous figure and said, "Wear something tight-fitting next time. It looks good." Bai Qingxuang's face instantly turned red. She didn't expect Han Shan to say she looked good. He was her idol after all. My idol, Brother Han Shen, said I was good-looking. Oh my god, how lucky am I? Han Shen looked at his empty wallet, feeling a bit of a headache. Taking a taxi here cost him more than 90 yuan. He might as well just ride a shared bike. He took out his phone, scanned the code, and rode off on a bike. Bai Qingxuang was still stunned in place, feeling lightheaded from Han Shen's compliment. She didn't even notice when he rode away. After noticing that Han Shen had left, Bai Qingxuang stomped her foot in frustration. Han Shen rode his bike all the way back to Cloud Sea Villa. After thinking about it, he snuck into Gu's villa again, found an empty spot, sat down, and began to absorb the energy of heaven and earth to cultivate. In the evening, guessing that Lan Yueshi would be coming back, Han Shen hurried home to cook dinner. When he got home, his phone was not with him. He then saw the message from Lan Yueshi, saying she was having dinner with Shangguan Meijin outside to discuss collaboration and wouldn't be back, and that he should cook for himself and not wait for her. At the Grand Emperor restaurant, Shangguan Meijin smiled as she looked at Lan Yueshi across from her, envying her for finding such a young grandmaster like Han Shen to be her husband. Shangguan Yingxue sat next to Shangguan Meijin, also secretly observing Lan Yueshi. Thinking about how Han Shen had helped her heal her wounds before and the impulsive actions he took to revive the celestial star grass in the medicine vault, her cheeks turned red, and she felt a pang of envy. As expected, her mother and grandmother were right. Men were all big pig trotters. Shangguan Yingxue was like her name, like a beautiful night in the moon. She didn't give off any feeling of profanity. Lan Yueshi, on the other hand, was different. She was worthy of being the #1 beauty in Hailan City. The cold aura surrounding her, her beautiful face, and her deep eyes all carried a certain allure, which would inexplicably arouse a man's desire to conquer. No wonder Han Shen liked Lan Yueshi so much. Sensing Shangguan Meijin's gaze, Lan Yueshi frowned. "Yingxue, this is Yueshi, whom I often mention to you. I remember Sister Yueshi. I heard that you single-handedly managed to make a 1 billion yuan company out of the nearly bankrupt Lan Group," Shangguan Yingxue said. Leaving aside everything else, Shangguan Yingxue admired Lan Yueshi a lot. The Lan family's elders were incompetent. Relying on her, a young girl, to survive in this dog-eat-dog world was truly difficult. Nothing. Madame Shangguan and the old lady are the ones with extraordinary abilities," Lan Yueshi said modestly. Opposite her was the head of the 4 major families in Hailan City, the Shangguan family. What was the current Lan group compared to them? Lan Yueshi smiled wryly and glanced at her phone. Why hadn't that guy replied to her message yet? Could it be that he hadn't looked at his phone? Meanwhile, at the Huang family in Kyoto, Huang Zhengyun stood in front of his study with his hands behind his back, his face cold. The person standing in front of Huang Zhengyun, looking anxious and uneasy, was none other than Lan Yueshi's uncle, Lan Shanhe, and his wife, Lu Yuru. "Without the Lan family's ancient formula, you expect me to help you take back the Lan group?" Huang Zhengyun sneered. He was a direct descendant of the Huang family. Although he wasn't the family head, he was a very powerful figure in the eyes of the smaller families of Hailan City. Some time ago, Huang Zhengyun had met Lan Shanhe and found out he was from the Lan group. He intended to use him to get the Lan family's ancient formula. He had brought the homeless couple back and shown them a good time in Kyoto for a few days. These two were sly as foxes. It was only today that they told him that the ancient formula wasn't with them. Huang Zhengyun knew that the old ancestor wanted the Lan family's ancient formula in order to make pills for the secret of longevity. But after so many years, there had been no news from the Han family, and the second branch of the Lan family, who had knowledge of the ancient formula, had been eliminated. Old Man Lan was also too stubborn. Back then, he sent Ma Yixing from the Li family to deal with him, but still couldn't get any useful information out of that stubborn old bastard. He thought the main branch would know something, but he had been wrong. These two were just as useless. Seeing Huang Zhengyun was angry, Lan Shanhe and Lu Yuru exchanged a look. Lu Yuru quickly stepped forward with a flattering smile. "Mr. Huang, please don't be angry. Although we don't know the specific recipe of the Lan family's ancient formula, I know who has it. As long as you help us take over the Lan group, I will immediately find the ancient formula and present it to you with both hands." Chapter 74. the supreme leader. Huang Zhongyun laughed heartily and turned back to stare coldly at Lu Yuru. What? Do you still take me for a fool? No, Mr. Huang. You are so wise and powerful. I'm just a small woman. How could I possibly think of you as a fool? Our lives are in your hands. Just say the word, and we'll do whatever you want. Since being kicked out of the Lan family, Lu Yuru's life had become far worse than before. She had finally managed to meet someone like this she could rely on, so how could she not cling to them? Lu Yuru threw a seductive glance at Huang Zhongyun. Then, in what she thought was her most alluring posture, she leaned closer to him. Huang Zhongyun took the opportunity to embrace Lu Yuru, sneering mockingly at Lan Shanhe. Facing his wife being embraced by another man, about to be made a cuckold, Lan Shanhe was helpless. It was his own fault for being incompetent and unable to provide his wife with the life she desired. Shame and anger welled up inside him, and he lowered his head, unable to look at them. All right, as long as you serve me well tonight, I'll definitely send you and your husband back to Hailan City to get the Lan family's ancient formula for me. Huang Zhongyun pinched Lu Yuru's chin roughly and tore her clothes apart before pushing her onto the desk. Han Shen waited until 10 o'clock, but Lan Yueshi still hadn't returned. His wife usually went to sleep at 11 o'clock. Why was she so late tonight? Han Shen thought for a moment and decided to send a message to his wife to ask if she was back. As soon as he sent the message, Han Shen received a video call from Shangguan Yingxue on WeChat. After Han Shen answered, the image on the phone was Lan Yueshi, drunk, sitting in the back seat of a car. Wife. The video call switched, and Shangguan Yingxue's delicate face appeared on the screen. She smiled sweetly. Mr. Han, Miss Lan is in my car. I just arrived at the entrance of Cloud Sea Villa 301. Would it be convenient for you to come out? Before Shangguan Yingxue could finish speaking, the sound of the door being slammed open was heard, followed by Han Shen rushing out of the villa, so fast that even with her martial arts vision, she could only see a gust of wind. Why is my wife drunk? Han Shen knew that Lan Yueshi never drank alcohol when she went out for social occasions. She also didn't like alcohol. What happened tonight that made her drink so much? Shangguan Yingxue shrugged, giving Han Shen a resentful glance. I don't know. Miss Lan was on her phone during the meal, and then she drank a lot. She's drunk now. Han Shen scratched his head. He was too dense to realize that Lan Yueshi had truly fallen in love with him, and that her insecurity was why she had drunk so much. All right. Han Shen touched Lan Yueshi's forehead, picked up his wife, and walked towards the villa. Shangguan Yingxue watched Han Shen leave. She was very dissatisfied. What was this? I'm right here. Don't you want to say a few more words to me? Where did the cheekiness from before go? Shangguan Yingxue pouted her lips and drove back to Shangguan Mountain Mansion. Han Shen closed the door, and Lan Yueshi became restless, rubbing against him in his arms, and then, like that night when she consumed the fire spirit root to treat her cold, she became charming. Why didn't you reply to Yeye's message? Lan Yueshi pouted her rosy lips, a little dissatisfied. She grabbed Han Shen's collar and looked at him with her hazy, watery eyes. This was too much to resist. I didn't look at my phone, wife, Han Shen could only patiently explain. Lan Yueshi shook her head like a rattle drum, her voice a little coquettish and childish. No, you definitely don't want me. Tell me if you want me. Just say you want me. Just as they reached the sofa, Lan Yueshi swayed her legs and wrapped her arms around Han Shen's neck. Her warm breath brushed against his neck, tickling him. Yeah, say that again? Han Shen placed Lan Yueshi on the sofa with a smirk. This teasing little temptress, he was going to make sure she wouldn't be in a good state by tonight. Lan Yueshi actively offered him a kiss. Her breathing became rapid. I want you. Han Shen used his foot to separate Lan Yueshi's legs. The two of them began a passionate makeout session. After a few minutes, Lan Yueshi actually reached out and pulled down Han Shen's pants, muttering, "It's in the way." As the temperature in the large living room gradually rose, sounds of love and passion filled the air. In the morning, Lan Yueshi shyly crawled into the blankets, her big round eyes filled with joy and love. Han Shen had already gotten up and was downstairs, full of energy and making breakfast for her. Last night, the two of them had officially become a true couple. After a shy sigh, Lan Yueshi wondered if she should have another round later. Han Shen came in with breakfast. Wife, time to eat. Wife. Lan Yueshi didn't reply. She was already too embarrassed. Han Shen placed the breakfast aside with a smirk, lifted the blanket, and slipped inside, saying, "Wife, I'll give you something to eat." At a certain secret location, at the headquarters of the military region, A middle-aged man was deep in thought as he looked at the document in front of him. This was a document sent by that girl from the Bai family yesterday. Recently, because of the military exercises of various countries, he had been going to sleep very late and hadn't had time to read the documents. It was only this morning when Bai Qingshuang asked him that Chunyi remembered it. When he saw the contents of the document, Chunyi was shocked. As the supreme leader of the military region, Chunyi was normally someone who wouldn't change expression even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him. Today, he had changed his expression because of a document of uncertain authenticity. If what that girl from the Bai family said was true, then this young man's potential was limitless. Investigate this, Han Shun. Chen Yi immediately issued the highest order. Many people were confused. Who was this person who had stirred the commander? At this time, a man of about 50 years old, with a standard stride, walked in. The man's eyes were bright and piercing, as pure as a baby's eyes. He was the god of war of Daxia, and those in martial arts circles speculated that he had already reached a high level of martial god. This man was Long Ju. Long Ju had come to report on the situation after completing his mission. Good. Thank you for your hard work, Lieutenant General Long, Chunyi said, full of praise. He was the pillar of Daxia. It's nothing, Commander Chun. I'd like to apply to enter a secret realm for training. All right, but before you go in, I have something here for you to take a look at. As he spoke, Chunyi called Long Ju over and showed him Bai Qingshuang's document. After Long Ju read it, he was also shocked. This Han Shun has become a second-grade martial god at such a young age? That's right. If the information on the document is true, Chunyi sighed. After reading it, Long Ju scoffed. Commander, I think there's something fishy about this. A young man in his 20s who has become a second-grade martial god? What is that if not a genius? Chunyi rubbed his nose. Long Ju considered himself a genius, only stepping into the martial god realm at the age of 50. After so many years, relying on secret realms, he'd reached a high level of martial god. But he was nearly 100 years old. If it weren't for being a martial artist, he wouldn't be able to maintain such a youthful and energetic appearance. That's why I sent people to investigate. Commander, let me investigate it. I've just finished my mission. I can help you check to see if this is false. Long Ju said resolutely. Chapter 75. Long Ju. Jiang Sisi wrote down the information she had recently gathered on paper and sent a message to Han Shun inviting him to try some of the dozens of pounds of fish she had caught from the sea. Han Shun went over and received the paper. After seeing the information on it, he came up with a plan in his mind. With his current strength, it was impossible to fight against the old ancestors of the 4 major families. There were currently 2 solutions. The first was to increase his cultivation in the shortest possible time, directly to the half-step ascension realm, to be able to defeat the old ancestors of the 4 major families by himself. The second was to cooperate with the government, first improve his cultivation, and then kill the 4 men. Han Shun understood that if he wanted to increase his cultivation in the shortest possible time, he had to cooperate with the government and gain access to the training resources in their secret realms. But then he would have to go into seclusion for several years, and his wife and loved ones would be harmed by the 4 families. Although White Fox was by his wife's side and nothing would happen, what about the Yao family? Han Shun already knew how to negotiate with the government. He himself was a bargaining chip. As expected, just as Han Shun expected, the military sent someone to come. That day, a highly ranked military official came to Hailan City, attracting the attention of both the provincial governor and the mayor. Even the 4 major families in Kyoto received more concrete news that someone in the military had taken a liking to Han Shun. Except for the Han family, all the other families were curious about who this Han Shun was. The other 3 families sent people to investigate Han Shun's background. At this time, Long Ju had already arrived in Hailan City, preparing to go to Cloud Sea Villa. But he suddenly received instructions from his superiors that this operation was a national secret operation. He couldn't leak any information about Han Shun's family members. Long Ju was dissatisfied, but he could only send a message to Han Shun using official channels. They agreed to meet at the Hailan City Military Region base. He also issued a confidentiality order and activated first-level protection measures. The entire Hailan City Military Region went on alert. Not even a fly could get in, not to mention humans. When Han Shun arrived at the military region, Long Ju wanted to give him a taste of his power. Long Ju was second in command in Daxia. Being a high-ranking martial god, his fighting power and influence were unmatched by ordinary people. But the moment he saw Han Shun, he immediately sensed that his cultivation was at the 2nd grade of martial god. He really hadn't lied. Although Long Ju hated people who bragged, he also loved talent. Looking at Han Chin's ID card, it was confirmed that he was in his 20s. Long Ju dropped his previous preconceptions and laughed heartily. I didn't expect it. At such a young age you would have such talent and become a second-grade martial god. Your martial arts talent is much better than mine. Good, good, good. Long Ju said good 3 times with a look of relief. Daxia can have such a genius now. What is that number 1 genius from the lighthouse country, Matsushita Kuko? Han Chin chatted with Long Ju. In the end, Long Ju adopted his suggestion and officially invited Han Chun to join the military, becoming a member of the Daxia Supreme. Military. He would be able to enjoy priority rights, and within Daxia, all those who had close relationships with him would be protected. Han Chin also proposed to Long Ju that he wanted to use the National Secret Realm for training. Long Ju agreed without thinking, because this matter was originally Han Chin's exclusive privilege. Han Chin returned to Cloud Sea Villa and saw Lan Yueshi looking happy. He hesitated for a while before deciding to tell her his plan. After listening, Lan Yueshi was not angry. Instead, she agreed with Han Chin's plan. Han Chin fell silent and asked, "Wife, aren't you going to ask why I'm trying to fight against the 4 major families of Kyoto even though I know that's a hopeless task?" From Lan Yueshi's point of view, Han Chun was just an ordinary person. He was trying to resist the 4 major families of Kyoto, which was like throwing an egg against a rock. Lan Yueshi shook her head. "I trust my judgment and my heart. The man I have set my eyes on is not an ordinary man." Han Chun had already given the bank card with 700 million left to Lan Yueshi and told her about Gu Chuntong using 300 million. Lan Yueshi held Han Chin's hand, her eyes filled with tears. "I'll wait for you to come back." Before leaving, Han Chun also went to see Yao Yao Yao. When the girl saw Han Chun, she pouted, looking very unhappy. "What are you doing here? You haven't come to see me for so many days." Han Chun slapped Yao 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 on the bottom. "What? Don't want me to come see you? Then I'll leave?" Yao 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 immediately grabbed Han Chin's arm, acting coquettish. "Brother Chin, don't go. I've been waiting for you for so long. I was worried. It seems like you've gotten fuller after not seeing you for a few days." Han Chin's eyes fell on Yao Yao Yao's voluptuous figure. Yao Yao Yao's cheeks flushed, and she said shyly, "I've been eating papaya and milk lately. They say it can make my..." As she spoke, Yao 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 used her hands to trace the curve of her chest. "Yeah, it really has gotten a little bigger, but whether it's big or not, it's hard to tell just by looking." "Oh, Brother Chin, you're so annoying." Yao 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 playfully punched Han Chun on the chest, stood on tiptoe, and whispered in his ear, "Brother Chun, why don't you touch it?" As she said this, she hooked her fingers on Han Chin's pants waist and directly pulled him towards her room. It was almost noon when Han Chin slowly got out of bed. When he got up, he saw Yao 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 sitting in front of the computer, looking excited, as if she was watching something good. Han Chin walked over, and she was so scared that she quickly unplugged the computer's power cord. "Brother Chin, my sister has been looking for you for some time and hasn't been able to find you. She's going back to the Tai sect today, and she said she wanted to meet you and talk about something." After thinking for a while, Yao 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 said, "My sister said that she wants to ask you for some guidance." Han Chin smiled and slapped Yao 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 on the bottom. "Lead the way. I, her brother-in-law, will guide my sister-in-law." "Okay." Yao 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 led the way to find Yao Qingqian. Yao Qingqian was currently by the flying angle wooden building, staring blankly at the marks left from the last sparring session with Han Chun. "Sister, Brother Chun is here." Yao 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 came over, jumping and skipping. When Yao Qingqian saw Han Chun, she was stunned for a moment. She wondered why he had become so handsome after not seeing him for a while. "Mr. Han." Han Chun nodded. "Yeah, you want me to guide you? Listen carefully. Your practical experience is lacking. After you go back, you better train with people in your sect more, don't hold back. After a while, I'll go to the Tai sect to find you." When Han Chin said, "after a while," he definitely meant it would be after he had trained in the National Secret Realm and reached the half-step ascension stage, and after he had gone to Kyoto to find the 4 major families, that he would go to the Tai sect. Lan Yueshi had also agreed with Han Chun that after he had finished everything in the mortal world, she would go back to the snow region with him and live a life like an immortal couple. On the day Han Chun left, only Lan Yueshi and Yao 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 knew about it. Yao 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 was under the protection of the national military. Even the Yao family was heavily protected. White Fox accompanied Lan Yueshi everywhere she went. After the Huang family had spent a lot of effort finding Han Chin's information, they planned to join forces with the other 3 families to get rid of Han Chun, but they were too late. This person was like he had evaporated from the world, disappearing into thin air. The Huang family tried to attack Lan Yueshi, but the assassins they sent were killed one after another. All of them had their energy sucked dry. It seemed like there was a mysterious force protecting the Yao family. The Huang family wanted to teach them a lesson, but they were threatened by the military and dared not to be reckless anymore. Chapter 76, The Finale. 5 years later. A strong light burst forth from a mysterious area in Daxia. Han Xin emerged from it, his eyes filled with excitement. After 5 years, he had finally reached the half-step ascension realm. The first thing Han Xin did was send messages to Lan Yueshi and Yao Yao Yao. In less than a minute, both of them replied. After putting away his phone, Han Xin prepared to go to the military center base to report the situation to Longju and Qianyi. When the two men saw that Han Xin had become a half-step ascension master, they were extremely happy and excited. They kept clamoring to have a celebratory banquet for Han Xin that night. But Han Xin's heart was with Lan Yueshi. He wanted to go home to see his wife, so he politely declined. After receiving the mission from Qian Yi, Han Xin booked the fastest flight to Hailan City. Before boarding the plane, Han Xin had already asked Jiang Sisi to organize the events that had occurred in the past few days and send them to him, especially those related to the 4 major families in Kyoto. Han Xin sat in first class. The message sent to his phone was the information that Jiang Sisi had collected. It turned out that during these 5 years, the 4 major families in Kyoto had tried to make trouble for the Long Group and the Yao family, but the government had stepped in to resolve the issues. Han Xin sneered. If it wasn't for not having seen his wife in 5 years and missing her, he would have already rushed to Kyoto and slaughtered everyone in the 4 major families. However, it didn't matter. He would let the rats jump around a little longer. Hailan City, Cloud Sea Villa. Lan Yueshi was busy in the kitchen. Gu Chunhong came in and said, "Oh, it's been 5 years since he left. He hasn't even come back yet, and you're already in a hurry to show off your cooking skills." Lan Yueshi's cheeks turned red, and she glared at Lan Yueshi with a coquettish smile. She freed her hands to pinch Gu Chuantong's small waist. Gu Chunhong quickly dodged, repeatedly begging for mercy. "It tickles, don't tickle me. I was wrong. I was wrong." Just as the two of them were bickering, the door was suddenly pushed open. Han Xin strode in. "Yo, Gu Chunhong, what are you doing?" "Hemph, you pervert." Gu Chunhong pouted, dissatisfied when she saw Han Xin. "If it wasn't for you, my brother would have already married Yeya." When Lan Yueshi saw Han Xin, she was overjoyed. Her eyes filled with tears. "You're back. Don't eat, wife. Let's go upstairs. I have a lot of positions I want to study with you after 5 years of being apart." "Gu Chunhong, tonight isn't your business. You should go home and not be a third wheel." Han Xin started to drive her away. Gu Chunhong stomped her feet. "I don't care. I'm going to sleep with Yeya tonight. If you want to sleep with me, just say so. I will satisfy you." Han Xin smiled evilly. Lan Yueshi blushed and punched Han Xin on the chest. "Just let Chunhong be." "Okay, anything for my wife." Han Xin hugged Lan Yueshi and went upstairs, leaving Gu Chuntong alone to clean up the kitchen utensils and food. For the next few days, Han Xin spent his time with Lan Yueshi. The news of Han Xin's appearance in Hailan City shocked the 4 major families in Kyoto. They were all excited. The third master's son had finally appeared. As long as they could find the Lan family's ancient formula from him, they would be able to achieve immortality. After spending time with Lan Yueshi, Han Xin also spent 2 days with Yao Yao Yao. The little girl had a lot of complaints and dissatisfaction. "Brother Chen, how did you find time to come and be with me, your little wife?" "Okay, you're unhappy, little girl?" Han Xin patted her bottom, comforting her. "For the next period of time, your brother has something to deal with. After I'm done with it, I'll take you and my wife to a beautiful place to live a threesome world." "Really? Brother Chen, will my sister you be angry if you bring me along?" Yao 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 looked at Han Xin pitifully. Han Xin grinned. "Yes, so in the future, you have to serve me and my wife and fulfill your responsibility as a little wife." Yao 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 pouted. Do I have to serve Lan Yueshi too?" Kyoto. As soon as Han Xin got off the plane, he was attacked by snipers. But the bullets could not penetrate Han Xin's body. They were blocked by an invisible, intangible white shield. The sniper was dumbfounded. Han Xin easily caught a bullet and threw it forward. The bullet returned the way it came and shot directly between the sniper's eyebrows. The 4 major families of Kyoto had arranged dozens of waves of assassinations, but none of them could even touch Han Xin's clothes. Many smart people were discussing the rumor that Han Xin was already at the half-step martial god realm. They could only send martial god-level experts or family heads to deal with Han Chun. But the family heads of the four families had just finished discussing their plans. Are you talking about me? Han Chun appeared in the meeting room. Sorry, I don't have the patience to listen to your plans. As soon as he finished speaking, Han Chun instantly attacked, the speed of which had already exceeded the speed of sound. The family heads of the four families were all killed with one blow. When Han Lao Si died, his eyes were filled with disbelief. He couldn't believe he was killed by Han Chun just like that. The news that Han Chun had killed the family heads of the four major families in Kyoto spread overnight. The four old monsters behind the families could only come out to discuss countermeasures. As experts at the martial god level, they could keenly sense Han Chun's strength, so they planned to attack Han Chun together. Han Chun knew that the four major families simply wanted to live a life above others. So 5 years ago, he had conspired this moment to kill the backbones of the four major families. Once they were dead, the four major families were nothing. Without martial god level experts, the four major families would only be swallowed up by the major forces in Kyoto. But Han Chun planned to let the Shangwan family in Hailan City and the Lan, Yao, and Gu families take over the four major families in Kyoto. These were his people. It would be more convenient for him to do things in the future if they were in control. It was easy for Han Chun to kill those four old ancestors. Although he was a little injured, it didn't stop him from killing. Han Chun became famous overnight and became the #1 person in Daxia. His name was known throughout the world. No one didn't know Han Chun's name. At this time, Han Chun was taking his 2 wives to the snow region. 3 years later, Han Chun took Lan Yueshi out and went to the Tai sect to spar with its sect master, the improved version of the dragon chant.